At the Spruce Meadows tournaments, you've seen our wonderful military going around the grounds and also doing their musical ride. They are the Lord Strathcona's Royal Canadian Horse. They have a wonderful history dating back to the Boer War. And a few years ago, they had their 100th anniversary of the last cavalry charge at Morai Woods. It really was a touching tribute. The soldiers went to France to reenact the last cavalry charge against the Germans in World War I. And it really is quite a interesting history. And you know, these men and women of our Canadian forces give so much of themselves to really protect our country, and we'd like to pay tribute to them. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the International Ring at Spruce Meadows for our July 4th afternoon edition of the Spruce Meadows North American at home. This morning we were treated to some of the memorable moments out of the International Ring, particularly in the speed events during our morning episode. This afternoon we're going to change focus a bit and talk a little bit about the military tradition of this tournament. The equestrian sports are inextricably linked to the military. In fact, in the very early Olympic Games, it was only cavalry officers who competed in the equestrian disciplines. When Spruce Meadows was first built in the early 1970s, before the paint was even dry, a young cavalry officer from the Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians, a man named Cam Ross, rode his horse from the Currie Barracks in Calgary over to Spruce Meadows to introduce himself to Spruce Meadows co-founders Ron and Marg Southern. A magic was struck, and since that point, the Lord Strathcona's horse have been the official regiment of Spruce Meadows. During the North American is when Spruce Meadows takes its time to really salute the Canadian forces. And the Lord Strathconas are joined on Saturday afternoon each and every year with other members of the Canadian forces from throughout this land, with a focus on them in the International Ring prior to the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. And much of that focus, and a fan favorite, is centered around the feu de joie.
Open order! March! Order! Out! By the center! Inward! Press! Shoulder! Out! walk. When light touches, standing, move. Present. Guns. Present! Commence!
"2020 marks the 30th anniversary of one of the most significant events held annually in this sport, the ATCO Queen Elizabeth II Cup. In 1990, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth made Spruce Meadows part of her royal visit. And for the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Cup, it was a standalone event here in the International Ring at Spruce Meadows, won by a young American rider named Alice DeBaney, riding the Natural. Since then, it has gone on to become one of the great two-round Grand Prix in this sport, and the list of winners throughout the years reads like a Hall of Fame. Ludger Beerbaum, Laura Kraut, Beezy Madden, Leslie Howard. But there's one that stands alone, and in 2007, a story began none of which us ever would have believed. Eric Lamaze had a new horse, a stallion nobody else liked very much or had taken the time to develop. 2007, that all changed when Eric Lamaze and Hickstead came through the clock tower and won their first of 4 ATCO Queen Elizabeth II Cups. Outside of this ring, they went on to win Olympic gold and silver, World Cup and World Championship medals. And it all started here in July of 2007.
Becoming a speed legend here at Spruce Meadows. Ladies and gentlemen, for weathering the storm at Spruce Meadows today. It's a very special day on the Spruce Meadows calendar, a day of tradition, pride, drama, and excitement. It's a sporting day fit for royalty, the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Established in 1990, this event is a show-jumping major by any definition. Hello and welcome to Spruce Meadows. I'm Ian Allison, joined by Linda Heathcott. Great atmosphere in the International Stadium today for one of the sport's great Grand Prix events.
Well, it's $200,000 up for grabs, and the riders are walking the course. What we're seeing is the course is quite difficult in my mind. Steve Renroy of the United Kingdom has come here, and he set a course where the riders really have a difficult time getting a rhythm. Lots of turns right up front, big jumps, and they're right in your face.
And it's a different format, very demanding on horse and rider.
Yeah, 2 rounds. So the goal of the rider is to get into the second round. The top 12 come back for the second round. Now, if there's equality of faults, it will be the fastest times that get them into the second round.
So making the cut is very important. Do you see any definitive favorite in this very, very talented field?
I like the field. It seems like it's very balanced. The one horse that stands out in my mind is Hickstead and Eric Lamaze.
Well, earlier this week, Eric Lamaze said he thinks he's sitting on the best horse in the world, and we have no reason not to believe him right now. He's very confident.
He really is. He's riding well. The horse is jumping fantastic. But you know, you have Lorin Hough, Norman Delajoyo, Eddie Mackin, lots of great riders.
You mentioned Lorin Hough. She's in play with a little bit added pressure today. This event is the third leg of the $1 million CN Precision Series, and earlier this year in the CN Reliability Grand Prix, she jumped to victory. Should she win it today, she'll win a $50,000 bonus. But if she's a new name on the stage, there's some veterans in her way.
Eddie Mackin is really going gangbusters, Ian. You know, he's got a great horse, he's jumping well, and he's thrilled. He's won a major on our Spruce Meadows circuit so far this year.
He was at the top of this game in the late 1970s. In fact, the only rider ever to win all 4 events at the Spruce Meadows Masters with his legendary boomerang. We'll see if he's ready to play at the top of the sport again today.
Such an impressive result, and after the time allowed, clear round for Linda Heathcott.
I'm with Eddie Mackin of Ireland. Eddie, you have a new horse. You call her affectionately Mary, but her name is Tedasheen Sept. And she's been knocking at the door quite a few times. Time fault here, 4 faults there, and recently she won a big competition with you, going into the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. How are you feeling for this horse under these circumstances?
You know, I'd say I'm going to enter the Queen's Cup. I'm going to be pretty confident. She's a very talented horse, and we have big expectations for her, and she has progressed so much this circuit. Like, you know, she has very little experience in the main ring here. She hasn't seen the bicycle before. She hasn't seen all those funny fences. And the last couple of, she's jumped 3 weeks here, and she's jumped a double of ditches outside. She's done everything. So she's progressed greatly. And it's really nice to have a horse entering a competition like that you sort of feel, right? You know, I'm not just making up the numbers. If things go good for me on the day, you have a shot.
What makes this one special?
I think she's very brave, she's very intelligent, and she's naturally very, very careful. Her rideability has come so much. She's beautiful to ride. And she's, you know, what makes them careful, you can't say. Great horses are something, they've got something that you can't sort of identify. She's got that little bit of extra. and loves what she's doing. She's a great appetite for work. And, would keep my fingers crossed, a little bit of luck. I think over the next few years she can win a lot of great classes.
Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
The legend Eddie Mackin, the Bobby Orr of show jumping back in the 70s. Great to see him back on the top of his game, and he really believes there's something about Mary.
He does. This is a fantastic horse, and the bond is strong. You know, he's nurtured her back from a bit of an illness, and you can really see it in the ring, see them competing as one, and I think they have a shot today.
Well, the fans here at Spruce Meadows would really embrace that. Eddie Mackin's story is long and well established. They also embrace another very special part of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup, that of the tradition of the military involvement here. And today, Spruce Meadows is saluting the Lord Strathcona's horse, Royal Canadians.
It is a wonderful day, not only with the feu de joie military salute. We also have 500 families from the Lord Strathconas that are coming to Spruce Meadows to spend the day and have a little bit of a tribute paid to them for all that they sacrifice for our country.
Well, and of course, it's very fitting given that this sport traces its roots to the cavalry, and the Lord Strathcona's horse are indeed a cavalry unit of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Dear Mother, I received your letter last night and was surprised to hear that you felt our leaving so much. There is one thing, dear Mother, if we do get there and get snowed under, I hope it will be as a soldier should fall, with his face to the front. Goodbye for the present, dearest Mother. Your affectionate son, Bert. That was a letter written by Corporal Robert Rook of Winnipeg, Manitoba. He, along with his brother, were enlisted with the Lord Strathcona's horse in January of 1900. Canada's original musical ride, the Strathcona Mounted Troop is an armoured regiment of the Canadian Forces. Over the centuries since its formation, so much has changed for the troop, yet so much remains the same.
For decades, they have been a core part of Canada's Army, a core part of the Canadian Forces, and therefore their values, their characteristics mark our very country today, and I think that's not an overstatement. The men and women in uniform and the Lord Strathconas provided a lot of those with their valor, with their courage, with their devotion to Canada, have helped shape our country this last 100 years. They help us protect our interests worldwide. They help us be ready to protect and defend Canadians here at home when Canadians need us in the worst days of their lives, and they do that admirably. So they were instrumental in the formative years of our country, and they remain exactly that right now. An incredibly important part of what allows Canada to be the stable, secure society, and in our view, the view of men and women in uniform, the best country in the world.
For over 3 decades, Strathcona Mounted Troop has performed their musical ride at Spruce Meadows. It's a way for us to recognize, commend, and preserve the regiment's cavalry and proud Western heritage.
Well, it's easy to see why there's such a special atmosphere and feeling in the air today here at Spruce Meadows with all of the Canadian Forces and the great celebratory environment.
Well, it is. It's wonderful that Brigadier General Skidmore was able to inspect the troops. He also spent time with the families, going to the lunch area and talking to them. And what a great tribute for them. You know, they've sacrificed so much, having loved ones away, and also now that some of them are home.
Well, they get to stand down now and enjoy the action in the international ring. For Brigadier General Skidmore, he gets to take the salute from the riders who have been working hard in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Competition started much earlier today, and it's always tough to be first in. Molly Tal of the United States with that nervous look on her face, and she set the pace by showing all the others it was going to be tough everywhere on course.
There were rails that came down everywhere, just like you said, Ian, but also stops. Ray Texel had problems at the wide triple bar. He ends up stopping out. But one of the jumps that really was in play today so far is the water jump. Lots of horses stepping on the tape. You can see it right there. And lots of horses stepping in the water.
The water jump official very busy in the early going of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup, but then Mandy Porter of the United States got things sorted out in terms of jumping.
Mandy and her horse Summer, a young horse that she's brought along from the beginning, sorted everything else. They jumped all of the jumps clear round, but the clock caught them.
Time allowed in this event, 83 seconds. So now the riders had to factor that in, and it was not easy. Judy Torres with her stallion Oliver.
Again, all of the jumps stay up, but the clock catches her as well. One time fault.
Would that be good enough to get them to the second round of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup, where only 12 advance? A guaranteed ticket to round number 2 was handed to Federico Fernandez of Mexico.
Federico Fernandez, a crowd favorite, jumps a clear round, no problems with the clock. He assures himself round 2.
His veteran horse that's carried him to Olympic and World Championship competition will now carry him to the second round of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Thus far in the first round, the course is living up to your pregame billing.
Lots of fences down, but also the rhythm for the riders. You know, the time shouldn't be a factor, but they're really struggling with getting a rhythm, and the clock is becoming a factor.
First round action in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup continues when we return.
Pure Leaf iced tea starts with the finest tea leaves. Carefully selected and slow brewed for a taste you can truly savor. We take our time. You take yours. Pure Leaf, real brewed iced tea.
Action continues from the International Stadium at Spruce Meadows in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Ian Allison and Linda Hethcott bringing you the action as horses and riders from around the world are looking to make the cut and advance to the round of 12. Kara Rather of the United States will be the first to take the test over the 532-meter course. What will she have learned from those going before her, Linda?
Well, she's learned that she really needs to stay on task about the gallop and the clock. The course doesn't allow you to really get into a rhythm. And the jumps, you know, everything is a factor. The course designer has done a tremendous job of really pushing the limits for the riders. They have to stay focused.
Walking the course with the riders earlier this morning, a lot of them commented that it's tough to get your motor going early. There's a lot of questions asked that relate to turnbacks, etc., and that may be playing a part on the timing difficulties.
Well, and let's just watch Kara, because it is true. One, really a right-hand turner, a right angle, right away, 90-degree angle, and then now a rollback. There's no ability to let go of your horse and get galloping. The wall, and then forward, a forward gallop stride to the oxer. Now another rollback, and here is where you really need to stay on the time. You shouldn't go wide. You have to really gallop and get to this combination. And now another 90-degree turn to the water jump, which is seriously in play, but not for Kara. Beautifully ridden so far, but she's really staying on the pace. I like her flow. She's galloping along. So she jumped the plank, the Canada flag plank, now rolls back to the Athens coins oxer, a skinny oxer to a wide oxer. Now here's where she takes a breather, a vertical.
Down it comes for 4 faults as she sets up for the triple bar.
And the triple bar is wide, the widest jump on course, and it catches her as well. She had to make the inside turn in order to make the time allowed, and then the combination is very tight, vertical, oxer, vertical, and a long gallop to the last jump on course, the yellow oxer.
Well, 2 rails on course for 8 faults, and she was pressing the time along, maybe concerned about it, and that's what cost her on the latter half of this course.
The 2 places I really believe they can take a breather are the 2 jumps that Kara had down. Right here, she relaxes and the horse just rolls that rail off. You can see how flat the cups are there. And then the roll back to the wide oxer, she didn't create enough power so her horse would jump out and over the triple bar.
Will Simpson of the United States next to go on this feisty mare Tosca. representing the United States at 2 World Cup finals. One of these riders that can ride any type of horse, but with El Campion's Tosca, this really seems to be a good fit for him.
Yeah, this mare is coming off of an injury, and so they brought her along slowly. She is fit and ready for this event. She's jumping great. Will's won a couple of competitions at Spruce Meadows already this year with this horse, but and this is the kind of horse I think is suited for this type of course where, you know, she turns on a dime. She's really pretty active and galloping forward, and Will likes to carry the pace.
She's 11 years of age, so just hitting her stride for the top level of this sport. And he's been waiting a while since his great mare, Ado Annie, was sent overseas to the free agent market, as it were, and this mare has come along brilliantly. Well, she looked to have jumped the water very nicely there, but I see the water judge is over inspecting. Hopefully that will not incur faults for Will Simpson.
He's jumped the ATCO Power vertical clean. I don't sense that the time is a factor for Will. He's gone around the combination to get the triple bar. Oh, and he has a rub there, but it does stay up.
But a look at the scoreboard indicates that the water judge has indeed assessed 4 faults to Will Simpson and El Campion's Tosca. I'd like to have a look at that because that mare looked like she really powered out over the water fence.
He did get there a little bit long to the water jump, but, you know, I agree, Ian. She jumped high, and usually when a horse jumps high over the water jump, it means that they're covering the ground. Look at how long he is, and she reaches, but you can see her ergot steps on. Let's just take a look here. Yeah. You see the tape move.
By the slimmest of margins, 4 faults for Will Simpson. He will not be happy with that, but he should be very pleased with the effort of that mare as they depart the International Stadium here at Spruce Meadows. And Mario Delorier with his great Grand Prix horse Paradigm get ready to take the test. Now, 1 clear to date. Mexico is in the clubhouse. Federico Fernandez on a clear round. Only 12 advanced to the 2nd round of competition, and Mario Delorier very much hungry for success in the international ring.
I'm not sure the course is suited for Paradigm in that this is a powerful horse. Where Mario sometimes gets into trouble with Paradigm is the fact when he opens Paradigm up, he can't get him back steadied for a vertical. There's opening him up.
And there's the vertical. Nice forecasting, Linda.
He didn't need to listen to me.
There's no question about the scope of this horse, but you also have to be super careful coming off that water jump.
Yeah, and that's really the question of the rideability for the horse. You know, allowing them to increase their speed and their gallop stride, and then having the rider be able to ride them well enough and slow them down and collect them into a nice frame to be able to curl up and over those verticals.
Sitting on 4 faults across the final auction, that's how Mario Delorier will finish up. Look at the time, 77.26. He knew it was a factor. He carried this big gelding forward, but it did cost him coming off the water jump.
You can see Mario sitting up. He tries to settle Paradigm down, and he does get it done. The horse jumps the front end, but his hind legs trail just through the plank, and that plank is so delicate. You rock it the wrong way, and it falls down.
Mario Delorier with problems at the planks. Prior to him, it was Will Simpson with problems at the water jump, and he is standing by with Shayna Nakoni.
Well, Tosca jumped beautiful, no jumps down, barely touched the tape of the water. What happened?
She tried it with everything she has. She's not 100% yet. She's just coming off a layup, but she's a little rusty, and she's given 110%. And she didn't know she had a fault. She knows she rubbed a few jumps, but they didn't fall down. She gets back off of the jumps. That's our sport. We should be able to touch a fence and have it stay in the cups and still be clear. Same thing at the water, but the water's an outdated jump. I don't know why it hasn't been taken out of our sport. Fine for derby or something like that, but not in show jumping. It's never helped the class, it only ruins the class.
Well, a little emotion from our entry from the United States, Will Simpson, who clearly displeased with the results at the water jump after his mare gave him such a great effort. Norman De La Gioia underway now, another rider that's enjoyed spectacular success not only here at Spruce Meadows but around the world in this sport. He has got his veteran Glasgow geared up and ready to go today. Norman De La Gioia underway now with the big chestnut gelding.
Glasgow is a great jumper, you know, very careful. The one problem with Glasgow over his lifetime is he's a terrific horse, always sustaining injuries. So he's one of those, you know, athletes that seems to be on the sidelines a lot.
An exercise in equine management for Norman De La Gioia. He picks the big events, and Glasgow usually delivers, but at 16 years of age, he has to be managed very carefully now.
With kid gloves, really. And you can see Norman knows the horse so well. Look at how well he's riding. He's on the time. He's setting up for the verticals. He's creating the power when he needs to over the oxers. I mean, that's the first rub we've even heard on the course. And I think we have a clear round.
And they get to do it all again. Norman De La Gioia with a quick trip around here, 78.09, and the Dutch warm blood gelding Glasgow delivers another memorable moment here at Spruce Meadows, and they will advance to the second round. Great to see them back.
Here's the triple combination, and this is the only place that Glasgow even touches a rail and just barely rubs it. Flawless round for Norman and Glasgow. You can really see why he takes his time when this horse is hurt, because this is one of your main players in the international ring.
They will go catch their breath and get ready for second round action here at Spruce Meadows, and looking to join the ranks of the second round will be our next entry into the ring. Big pressure on this woman from the United States, Lorin Hough, who earlier this year won the CN Reliability Grand Prix to put her in play in the $1 million CN Precision Series. A victory today scores a $50,000 bonus on top of the $66,000 in first prize money. Her little mare Casadora is in good form. She needs a clear round.
Lorin is a terrific pressure rider. She's very calm. You know, I'm really impressed with her in that she works her horses all the same. She has them very well ridden. You know, when the course designer asks her a question, galloping to the water jump and then settling down to the vertical, Lorin is so calm about it. You can see her using her voice, and look at how well it's ridden. This is a great competitor. These riders have figured out where they have to gallop in order to make the time allowed. It's not becoming a factor any longer. They figured that out. And a rider like Lorin, you know, watch her. She turns when she's supposed to. She creates the gallop when she's supposed to.
And she remains quiet and confident in the saddle, never hurried. That is a big step out of the way, but I'm sure she'll shoulder check to see if the yellow and white rails came down. A clear round for Lorin Hough. Back-to-back clear rounds here at Spruce Meadows. She too is on to round number 2.
Well, if you want to make round number 2, the easiest way to do it is to jump a clear round. Lorin Hough, Norman De La Gioia, Federico Fernandez, all in the hunt for the $200,000 purse.
Well, it looks as though Lorin has been holding her breath for the entire 80 seconds of her trip. You can breathe now, Lorin. You've got to get ready for the second round of competition with your chestnut mare, Casadora. As we look down on Jonathan Aslan, the Canadian Olympic team veteran, riding the 9-year-old gelding, Quidam's Ramiro. Certainly the biggest test of this young horse's career, Linda.
Oh, for sure it is. But you know what I like about this horse and Jonathan, this is a new horse for Jonathan. He rides well. A very rideable horse, you know, a willing horse. It looks like this will be a very good team in the end, but perhaps they may have a few issues in the fact that they don't know each other very well.
Lots of questions being asked on course, starting with these early turnbacks and where they can keep their pace going for a young horse such as Quidam's Ramiro.
Good ride over the water. Can he settle him down for the plank? Nope.
Little trouble with the front end there. 4 faults for the Canadian entry.
You know, and the plank is not a difficult jump to jump on its own. What the course designer is doing is he's asking the test of the riders. Do you have the rideability? Can you gallop forward and then settle the horse down? And it's really the same question as this triple bar to the combination. Galloping forward, and then can the horse settle down and be balanced for the triple?
The answer is no at A. And yes coming out through the triple combination with 1 obstacle left, and down comes the front rail of the final oxer. Time not a problem, and some green mistakes on course for this young horse.
Yeah, what Jonathan's going to learn from this, and the fact that this is a new horse for him, is he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and do his homework. Really teach this horse to be able to gallop forward and then settle back and curl up and over these verticals, because that's what's catching him. It's a rideability test, not necessarily the jumps.
12 faults for Canada's Jonathan Aslan, 80.80 seconds. This will be an interesting round as we pick up Christopher Lowe on course aboard Jackpot. They have a rather unique style, but they seem to have a very good chemistry.
They do, and it is a strange combination to watch in that, look at Christopher, he's a very active rider, and I don't know whether it's because Jackpot, the horse, is maybe a bit cold or a little bit doesn't have its own motor, but Christopher just really kind of pumps on this horse to create the power and the motivation, but they are a great team, and they seem to jump very well.
Well, the 12-year-old gelding gets through a difficult part of the course effortlessly. Water to the planks, and now turning back to the Athens Olympic coins. They are going to have to pick up the pace, I think, a bit, Linda. You should be over that triple bar before the 70-second mark in order to get in under the time allowed, it seems, as he sets up for the final obstacle. I'm sure he'd take a time fault. That's what it will be for Christopher Lowe as he looks to the scoreboard. And there's an interesting player in the mix today.
Well, he's happy with that. You know, Jackpot jumped very well. He's very careful. Yeah, and he was a little bit slow, but I think this horse inherently travels a bit slow. You know, he doesn't have the fastest gallop. He isn't super fast over the jumps. You know, he has a lot of hang time or air time, and so it's not so easy for a rider like this to get in under a tight time allowed.
Well, and that airtime may come into play in the second round, which is generally the scopier of the tests as opposed to the technical questions that are being asked here in round number 1. And Christopher Lowe gets the opportunity, I would think, to test the second round course coming up. Kyle King of the United States with the Black Stallion Capone next to go. Horse that's been actually lying in wait throughout the summer tour a little bit. He's been allowing him as an active breeding stallion, if you will, to charge his batteries leading into today's competition.
A good combination. Kyle rides very well. This horse is a smaller horse, nice model. Very rideable. I like this combination, and I like their chances of jumping this horse clean.
Just their second year together, and each time out they seem to get stronger.
A little bit slow to this combination. Great ride to the water. And beautifully to the vertical. I love that ride. It was smooth. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't fighting. It was just spot on. You know, what you're seeing with Kyle King and Capone is that there's a good teamwork and there's a relaxed atmosphere about this combination. They know what they have to do. They're just going in and doing it. And that's what you see when you see a really good rider and horse combination. It almost looks flawless.
Well, they seem to have a lot of pace without being hurried as they set up for the final fence. It would be heartbreak if they have it down after that round. They do not even come close. Time a little bit tight, 82.46, and that affects the order of go in round number 2. That won't bother Kyle right now. He's into the second round in the $200,000 Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
This is the only place you really see Kyle fight with Capone to make sure that he gets to that optimum takeoff point. And especially for a triple combination, it's vitally important, because if you don't jump in properly, it's like a domino and you end up having a lot of jumps down.
Kyle King posting one of 4 clear rounds to date at Spruce Meadows, and our coverage of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup continues right after this. The International Stadium at Spruce Meadows will be someone's field of dreams today in the $200,000 ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. That's how things are unfolding right now to advance to the second round. Will Simpson on 4 faults is playing the waiting game. Fortunately for Will, there's no water jump in the second round, but will he make it?
I believe he will. You know, he's a fast 4 faults. We have our cleans that are going to be in for sure, the time fault horses, and you're probably going to get 1 or 2 of the fast 4s.
Well, Ireland's Eddie Macken certainly wants to be in the mix in round number 2. He's aboard this mare he believes so highly in. Tedasheen Sepp, or Mary as he calls her, has had great success bringing her along to the top of the sport, and now he wants to see if she can play up here.
But Ian, you know what? He has a little bit of trouble with the clock anyways. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eddie is slow at this point. He's got to pick it up.
It's been vitally important to pick up the pace around the Devil's Dyke as the riders set up for the Rainbow combination. Now onto the water. And as we saw with Will Simpson, pushing the lathe back, 4 faults.
Everything about this round today, in my mind, I mean, I really like this combination. This is a top combination, but it seems a bit slow, a little bit lethargic. There isn't any spark to this horse's gallop today. Maybe she's tired, I'm not too sure, but a little bit under the weather, it looks like.
Well, coming back after more than a year on the sidelines with colitis of all things, a very rare condition for horses, and has had great success on the summer tour thus far, but today there's going to be a minimum of 8 faults and for sure time here as they set up for the final obstacle. The yellow and white oxer stays up, and there you see in excess of our time allowed of 83 seconds. So the water, the Athens coins, and the clock catch up with Eddie Macken.
Here's the ride to the water jump. You know, too casual, not aggressive enough. If Eddie had sat down and really pushed Mary into the water, I think she would have reached over and, you know, not hit the lathe. Difficult for us to see from this angle what happens, but all in all, I would say just the whole gallop, the approach on the course was a bit lethargic, not sparky enough.
Well, one horse that has showed tremendous spark throughout the 2007 season here at Spruce Meadows is this 10-year-old stallion, Don Porfirio, ridden by Antonio Chedraui of Mexico. We've already seen Federico Fernandez come out and jump a clear round with his veteran gelding, but this horse looks like it's got the spark you speak of.
I like this combination. Antonio rides very well. He carries a lot of pace, and this horse has all the power to jump big, wide jumps, and he is careful. This is a great combination.
Little stutter there in the combination, but they get through. Now onto the water.
No problem at all there. Ooh, he gets a little lucky at the Canada planks.
Really patting the ground hardly coming around the course here.
Antonio just needs to carry the pace and then have the horse settle down. Oh, and he really cut the corner there at the triple bar.
looking to save a little time, and it cost him 4 faults. The back rail of that massive triple bar comes down. He's on 4, and he keeps it at 4 and under the time allowed. So Antonio Chedraui will now have to wait to see if that score stands to advance to the second round.
It was a rider mental error. He was worried about the time allowed. He turned too tight to that wide triple bar, and that's where he has the problem. Watch this. The horse reaches across, can't quite make it, and watch the cup falling down. That's the breakaway cups. They do ensure that the horses can never get caught up on a jump like that.
A great safety device at work there as the stallion cut the back part of the triple bar down, but didn't end up on his nose as he might have in former times. John Anderson of Canada, fan favorite here at Spruce Meadows. Started here as a junior, growing up in the shadows of this facility, and has had many great moments in his career, and has really done a terrific job getting the most out of this mare, Jacine 36.
This is another horse that has difficulty when you really open her up to be able to get her settled back for the verticals. And we'll see how she handles this course, but this is one of the things that John is working on with this horse to try and get that rideability down, because the horse for sure has the power to jump the big wide obstacles.
A little bit more of a compact unit, and John Anderson is all of 6'4" up in the irons.
Great ride so far. It's looking like John might be able to post a clear round with this horse. Just needs to keep it together down the last line. Oh my goodness, he really takes off long there.
Troubles at the triple bar. Very different than we've seen today. Big stretch for this mare. And running out of gas a little bit at the final auction. 2 rails down, 78-28, and I'm not sure what happened at the triple bar, but it wasn't nice.
It's the turn again, Ian. The riders, both Antonio and John, are concerned about the time allowed. They're really on the time allowed, but he takes off far too long. Look at her. She stretches out. Again, you see the cups breaking and coming away to ensure the horses don't fall down. But yeah, it's the turn that's causing the problem.
John Anderson exits the stadium, someone who I don't presume will have troubles with the clock because he rides this horse so forward. Eric Lamaze on the Great Hickstead. Let's see if they can live up to that resume they've built this year, and Eric's belief that he's sitting on the best horse in the world right now.
Well, certainly Hickstead is showing us that. This is the one horse we talked about at the top of the show that really stands out in the group. The rest of the group is very balanced. But watch this little horse jump. He's so careful, it's almost unbelievable.
11-year-old Dutch warm blood stallion just hitting the top of his game right now.
Great ride over the water.
So much energy.
Again, this is teamwork. Eric knows this horse. He trusts this horse, and it's looking so easy.
Setting up for the triple bar and the home stretch. The Maple Leaf on a clear performance goes to the second round. So Eric Lamaze and Mario Delorier, the 2 Canadians thus far, sitting in good shape for round number 2. That's the first clear from the host Canadians today, and it was very convincing.
Here you see him coming through the triple combination. Just flawless. There's nothing else to say about it.
Hitting every distance. negotiating every fence. I don't think he had a touch on course, Linda.
He really didn't, and he's well under the time allowed. You can really see why this combination is always one of our picks coming into an event like this, because clearly they are very strong.
Well, and that fast time bodes well for their start position in the second round of competition. The fastest cleans will come back later in the go. And you talk about having an epiphany in this sport. Chris Pratt has changed his locations of operation, changed his horses, and changed his results as a result of all of this. Great to see the veteran who now resides on the west coast of the United States having such great success, particularly with this 12-year-old stallion.
Chris has had some tremendous success with the change that you're talking about. He rides with Richard Spooner now, and also works with the Bartises, and he's had wins in the international ring. He's knocking on the door all the time. This has been a great change for him.
As he said, a 20-year veteran at Spruce Meadows, and it was great to feel the championship feeling of victory during the summer tour, and he's experienced it a couple of times thus far and looking to carry that on today in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
Oh, and you know, his horse really stuttered off the ground. Almost, it looked like he didn't realize it was an oxer and jumped it like a vertical.
Whoa.
And again, problems.
He's lost a stirrup as well, and as quickly as that, what was a fault-free round has turned into a disaster for Chris Pratt. And he's going to voluntarily retire from the competition. I think that's a wise decision. As Chris exits the stadium, let's throw it down to the hitching ring.
Eric Hickstead gave you a clear round, an incredible time. He looked like he was out there playing. What makes this such a great course for him?
Any course is a great course for him. He's just really careful. He's scopy. I can't think of a course that I've ever walked and said, oh, it's really not suited for him. He adapts himself to any course, and I know him well, but he jumped with such class today, and I look forward to the second round.
Eric Lamaze is reeking of confidence right now, is he not?
Oh, he is, and you know, why wouldn't he be? He's on a wonderful horse. He rides well. This is teamwork, and it is tremendous to see him at the top of his game.
Well, this fella, Chris Kapler, knows how that feels. He had a great stallion named Royal Caliper that he scored an Olympic gold and silver medal on at the Athens Games. And now he is rebuilding that string, and with the 10-year-old Leningrad, we'll look to see if he's got the next special one for the United States. Chris Kapler, such a classic rider, if you will, having spent most of his life training with George Morris, and has down the wall from the Atlanta Games, a wall you're familiar with.
It is. I mean, you know, it's interesting. It's the first time we've seen a horse flick the brick out, and yeah, that is an unusual jump to have down.
Mount Rushmore takes its toll on our Olympic champion.
Whoa!
As does the Canada Planks, and boy, no question there that Leningrad wanted nothing to do with those planks.
He really tried to settle the horse down after the water jump, and Chris is such a beautiful rider in that you don't really see him fighting with the horse, but he got to what we call that half stride, and the horse didn't take off. He just put his brakes on and slid, almost sitting down at the jump.
And with that comes a relatively big construction project.
There you go. You see it right there. Gets to that half stride. The horse saying, no, I'm not leaving the ground. And sat down to have a little rest.
Well, Chris has a little time on his hands here in the stadium. And with that, of course, combined with the Mount Rushmore wall coming down, the two-time Olympic medalist will not advance to the second round.
Well, and what happens is it's 4 faults for the refusal. The judges will assess 6 seconds extra, so he'll be over the time allowed. And the reason they do that is that they have a timeout to set up the jump because it's been demolished, and that's what will happen for Chris in the time and the faults.
Now he has to organize this 10-year-old horse who's in jumping his biggest test of his career, complete with the crowds and the flags and all those things that come with Spruce Meadows that Chris was, I won't say concerned about, but realizing today.
You know, and it's interesting. He comes back, he canters over the Canada planks, he jumps it well. So what is the question the course designer is asking is, can you lengthen your horse out and get them back for the vertical? Obviously, with this young horse, Chris has not refined that yet.
Is such a narrow window between the youngsters and the veterans. This one at 10 years of age has now got the years but not the experience, if you will. No problem with the triple bar. Coming down the home stretch, of course, there will be time added, as you mentioned, Linda. So we're going to have the 8 jumping faults, plus there you see the time added, which will incur 4 time faults for a total of 12 for Chris Kapler of the United States.
Well, and it was a good round. The score doesn't show that, but he had troubles at 1 jump, which is the plank, and that's where he caught all of the faults.
Big expectations in the crowd for this next entry, the 3-time North American Show Jumping Championship combination from here at Spruce Meadows. Special Ed and Jill Henselwood, last to go in the first round, and a horse rider combination that's expected to deliver a lot for Canada this year with both Pan American Games commitments and the Spruce Meadows calendar, including the Nations Cup here in September.
I like this combination. They're feisty and they really seem to get the job done. Just going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. She looks like she's a little slow at this point.
Well, she's seen every rider in the competition. She knows where the problems are. She knows what the challenges are. Let's see how she sets up here for the Canada planks. Nicely done.
Oh, and a slip. She's having to add there.
And it catches up with her. 4 faults. Turning back. And 2 rails as quickly as that for Jill Henselwood. And with the slip, time was moving on too, and things have certainly fallen apart. She now has 12 jumping faults and takes the wide berth into the triple bar.
She's the first horse we've seen have any sort of trouble with the footing. It looked like Special Ed just slipped away. And what happens then is that the horse loses the gallop and the rider loses that rhythm. And then the next 3 jumps came down.
The effects of stalling catch up with Jill Henselwood. Time marching on, so there's time faults with the 12 jumping. Actually, just 1 time fault. A total of 13 for the 3-time Spruce Meadows North American champion.
Right here, let's look. She turns, and right there, you can see she's really trying to create the momentum in the gallop, but she's put herself out of that distance, out of that optimum takeout off point, and then she has the next 3 obstacles down.
And with those rails, evaporates any chance of Jill Henselwood going on to round number 2 here at Spruce Meadows. The stage is set for the 12 that are advancing in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
Mending all that's broken, remnants of all that's golden. I'm holding on to that feeling. I'm holding on to that feeling. I'm holding on to that feeling.
31 horse rider combinations started the day at Spruce Meadows. 12 have made the cut. They'll be coming back in their reverse order of performance from the first round. There you see Lorin Hough, who's also in play for the CN Precision Series bonus today, and our fastest of the cleans, the great veteran from Wellington, Florida, Norman Delajoyo. There's what lies ahead for them, Linda.
Well, it's a completely different course. And actually what's neat about it is our course designer has used the other side of the course. So we're seeing a lot of the east side of the grandstands. And what's cool is we have all different jumps. We have World Championship jumps. We have Olympic game jumps. It has a nice feel to it, but the riders have come in and walked. They might have walked earlier, but they had 10 minutes to walk prior to round 2, and now they're off.
Joey Gatlin gets to lead things off, and if you wanted a championship feeling, I think the materials from the Seoul Olympics, the Atlanta Games, the World Championships in Aachen and Stockholm, they're all on course right now to add to that feel here at Spruce Meadows that makes it such a unique sporting venue.
So our first jump is actually from the Seoul Olympics. These beautiful white standards. Then a left turn to jump number 2. Oh, goodness, one of our sound guys is in the way.
Perhaps from other Olympic Games.
A combination, vertical oxer, then straight on to our black and white oxer. Roll back to a vertical, which is the globe jump. This is from the World Equestrian Games in Aachen. Our bicycle, which is always causes us a problem, World Equestrian Games in The Hague.
1994. Joey was very cool, calm, and collected considering she just about took out one of our stadium sound people nicely over the Sydney vertical.
Another slip. That's interesting. We haven't had any rain, but we've seen Jill Henselwood and Joey Gatlin slip on course today.
2 rails on course for the leadoff rider, Joey Gatlin. That'll put her 2-round total at 12 here in the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
Right there, you see her slip. I don't know whether he stood on himself and pulled the shoe, but for sure, again, we see when the horses slip, it does take the riders out of that rhythm, out of the momentum. And what happens now is they add the score from first round to the score from the second round. So she has 12 faults.
And it is the first round time, however, that will break any ties.
That's
so it was important to go quickly in the first round of competition. It was against the clock. As we go to our first of 2 Mexican entries, Antonio Chedraui aboard this beautiful bay stallion. 1 mishap in the first round of competition, and with that they find themselves early in the go in round 2.
Well, the strategy for Antonio is to jump a clear round. Then he finishes the 2 rounds with 4 faults. What happens then is it puts the pressure on the clear round horses coming in, because if they have 4 faults, they will finish with a total of 4, which will force them into a jump off.
Well, it's an interesting format because a lot can change between round 1 and 2 when you see the 12 return and how things shake out, especially when that first round time is so important.
Well, and one of the things that I believe is the sleepers of the bunch today are the ones that have 1 time fault, because if they jump a clear round, they trump a 4 faulter. This is a nice horse. Jumping it easy. And I really like the way Steve Renoir has used the course. He's used the whole course. Everybody in the grandstands, doesn't matter whether they're on the east side or the west side at Spruce Meadows, they get to see the jumping.
And are they seeing a powerhouse on course right now in the form of Mexico's Don Porfirio with Antonio Chedraui?
2 jumps left and he's clear.
Little tap coming into the in and out. No problem with the clock in this round of competition, so he has finished up 2 rounds with 4 faults.
It doesn't seem like the time allowed is really going to be in play today for the second round. And here's a wonderful view of the bicycle jump. A little tiny rub, but no problems at all. This is a great combination.
So the Bay Stallion departs the stadium here. There's the second round total faults and the second round time for Antonio Chedraui. And with the sound of the bell, we go from the Bay Stallion to the Chestnut Mare. Will Simpson, whose only problem in the first round, one that he'd debate, was the water jump. So he hasn't had a rail today with El Campion's Tosca. We'll see if she has the scope for this second round test, because she's a very athletic mare, very careful, but there's a little bit more of a power question in round number 2.
You know, for $200,000, what the course designer is asking is, are they careful? Are they rideable? Do they have the stamina? Do they have the power? So that's the ability of the course designer with the 2-round format. He can really ask the test in the second round of what he wants in these 12 horses of who will reign supreme.
Going to the gas pedal to get over the Irish Oxer. Will Simpson, a little bit of a slip there too, Linda, for the mare.
You know, the footing is so good. The riders may be under corking or putting cleats in for this ground, and that's where you're seeing some of these slips come in. It's quite unusual because it's been very dry here at Spruce Meadows.
And the footing is perfect, and that round was perfect for Will Simpson. He's got a smile on his face now. No water jump in the second round of competition. No rails for the Chestnut Mare today. She looks to be in good form.
Here's the one rub that we saw on course with Tosca. Just a light rub at the black and white oxer, but you know, he's sitting in a good spot. Antonio and him are really forcing the riders to come into this second round and jump clean now.
The sound of the bell from the officials for that man, Mario Delorier of Canada, the fastest of the 4-fault performers from round number 1. He rounded the course in 77.26 seconds. So now the question, to go to your point, does this big gelding have the scope and the fitness level? Because it's still a lot of work ahead.
Yeah, and the one thing though, that the test that Mario has with Paradigm is the, you know, opening up at the gallop and then settling down for the verticals. This course is not asking that, so typically you would expect that Paradigm and Mario would jump a clear round.
Great veteran from Bromont, Quebec, former World Cup champion.
Using his voice a lot to relax Paradigm.
Very careful jump here, the Dutch bicycle jump, and down it comes. Mows it down with his front legs, and then has the Irish Oxer. So as quickly as that, he goes from 4 to 12 faults over 2 rounds.
Both he and Joey are sitting tied at the moment. That's assuming Mario can bring it in with just the 8 faults on course for this round.
Well, he does just that, Linda. There you see his running time in the second round of competition, just under our time allowed of 65 seconds. And there's his 2-round total faults of 12. And by virtue of his first round time, he stands ahead of Joey Gatlin in the standings. He will not win the competition today, but Mario Delorier, throughout his illustrious career, has provided us all at Spruce Meadows with numerous Rolex moments in time.
As I remember, I was first to go in the jump off, and I said, okay, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can, but important, you know, leave all the jumps up. Well, Amistad was going very good at the time, and he was very quick. He was New Zealand thoroughbred, and he was very fast across the ground, and for sure I knew he could do it. Those were big jumps out there, as I remember. 2 big oxer coming at the end of the jump off. You know, just a lot of effort. So he showed his willpower there, even if he touched him a little. You know, showed he had a big heart and tried his best. I guess the luck was on my side that day, because you know, all the rails stayed up, but they rattle a little bit. I really enjoy riding that horse, and it was, you know, a good time in his career and my career.
Mandy Porter of the United States looking to enjoy a good time in her career today at Spruce Meadows. 1 fault in the first round of competition, and that is the score that you think may really stir things up here today.
I do. I think that the 1 faulters have a distinct advantage because if they jump clear, they're ahead of somebody who has 4 faults, and you never know. A time fault, they've got nothing to lose, really.
Time hasn't been a problem in the second round, so those that are sitting on clears might get a little nervous from the first round of competition. But Mandy's got some jumping ahead of her aboard this Grey Mare Summer.
I like the way this combination is going. Mandy's very calm and collected. She did an inside turn. I don't know if you noticed that to jump number 3. She's aware of the time, and she really wants to make sure she posts a clear round. Although at this point, for her, a time fault is irrelevant.
It really is. She wants to leave the rails up. And she does just that, and she does it quickly. 59.48. There is the leader of the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. 2 rounds complete, just 1 time fault.
So the 4 faulters are a bit disappointed in Mandy because now they were sitting in having a jump off. Now they're clearly 2nd and 3rd, and Mandy is in the lead, which also puts the pressure on the clear rounds because they have to jump a clear round now.
Well, it also puts the pressure on our next entry. Our next entry from the United States, Judy Torres, also 1 fault from the first round of competition with her little stallion Oliver. So if she jumps a clear round now, we could be jumping off with 1 faulters.
That's right. I like the format because every round counts, and you're never really out of it until the end.
Oliver not carrying the pace we've seen from the other horses here in the second round of competition, so Judy Torres will really have to be mindful of the clock if she doesn't want to incur time faults again.
I believe what she's thinking about is just jumping a clear round. But it is a test, you know. Now we have the bicycle, we have a lot of very careful jumps.
She will not stay at the top of the standings by virtue of the bicycle jump coming down. And I think she is certainly on track for some time faults here, in addition to the 8 jumping faults she's incurred. So Mandy Porter remains at the top of the standings with just the clears to come. I will correct that. We still have Jackpot and Chris Lowe to come. They too had a time fault in the first round, but Judy Torres is out of the mix now, finishing up here at Spruce Meadows.
Well, here's the bicycle, the first of her problems on course. She really gets tight, it looks like, from this angle. And again, on the Sydney planks, the horse doesn't quite jump high enough.
So we had 3 with a total of 1 fault in the first round. We've seen 2 of the 3. Mandy Porter came in here, mastered the course. She goes to the top of the standings. Judy Torres is really out of the mix, and Christopher Lowe, maybe the biggest surprise of the first round of competition, aboard Jackpot, finishing up with just the 1 time fault. And now we'll see if this youngster from the West Coast can handle the pressure of round number 2.
Again, this is the combination. Oh my goodness, and the first jump comes down. But this is the combination that really is a little bit slow, and Christopher is very active sitting on this horse, you know, creating the momentum for this horse to be able to have a good quality gallop stride and the right jump at each of the obstacles.
Well, he needs to leave that behind because he'll still have a pretty good payday if he finishes up with just 5 faults over 2 rounds.
Oh.
You could see that coming.
Yeah, you could see it coming. The horse actually dropped its head right before. You could hear Chris clucking, trying to create that momentum, but unfortunately not able to do so.
And he too has allowed time to get out of hand a bit here. I don't expect him to come in under the time allowed. No, he does not. So there you see the timer. Time faults assessed. 1 time fault, 12 jumping faults. Total of 13 in the second round, a 2-round total of 14 faults, and that's how quickly things can change.
As Jackpot approaches the bicycle jump, watch the horse's head. It really goes down low right prior to him taking off. And what happens then is the balance or the weight of the horse is on the front end, and it's very difficult for them to jump the jump clean.
Christopher Lowe departs the International Stadium for the final time today, and that moves us on to the clear rounds now, Linda, and this is really where things can change. Our final riders all come in with clear score sheets, but it's a 2-round total event, so they've only got part of the day out of the way, and Kyle King aboard the Stallion Capone is the first to take the test to try and keep his score sheet clear.
Well, and Ian, I really didn't feel that the time was a factor, but apparently it is. We have a couple of riders that do have time faults, so the rider's going to have to stay on task. But these guys have the pressure because they know Mandy Porter is in the clubhouse with 1 fault, so a rail down really puts them out of it.
Time faults are assessed at a rate of 1 time fault for every 4 seconds or commenced 4 seconds over the time allowed, just for clarity here.
And Kyle King is out.
Mandy Porter continues to lead. This is where his first round time now becomes very important in determining the final placings.
He's pushing the time. He may have a time fault in this round as well.
And he does. So Kyle King, 5 faults over 2 rounds. You can see the disappointment on his face as he looked at the timers. So from clear to 5 as quickly as that. Lucky he didn't have another one there.
This is where the problem was. He jumps it with his front end clean and then drags his back end behind, isn't able to clear that obstacle.
Kyle King departs the stadium. There's a look at his second round effort. All of his faults coming in the second round of competition today. The sound of the bell, we move to the first of the clear rounds that we witnessed this afternoon at Spruce Meadows. Mexican veteran Federico Fernandez, a member of the Olympic effort at the 2004 Games in Athens. Really one of the great personalities in this sport. Aside from being a top championship junior rider, he made the transition after overcoming tremendous adversity after a horrific plane crash to again rise to the top of the sport. And here he is, looking to become the second Mexican to win the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup in its illustrious history.
Now we have to remember, Federico has had a very long wait. He went early in the first part of this competition. There was a break. He has to really ensure that the horse is up and, has his blood up a little bit. He can't be behind the mark there.
This is his veteran teammate, Bohemio, who he has taken to battle so many times in their career together, the 15-year-old Irish-bred gelding. As always, riding in a hackamore.
Setting up for the bicycle. And yes, he's over. He's being very careful at the jumps. 2 jumps to go and he's clear. Time may be a factor.
He's not going to get in under the time allowed, but a double clear performance and 1 time fault moves Federico Fernandez to tied equal first with American Mandy Porter at the top of our standings.
Well, that is a better strategy than having a jump down. However, he has to be very disappointed. He could have picked up the pace just a little bit to post that very precious clear round.
Well, a smile on the face of the veteran from Mexico.
I really liked the way he rode the bicycle. He really squared up. He took his time. He made sure he got that jumped, and then continued on. The only fault that Federico made was that he challenged the clock just a little bit.
Lorin Hough can take the outright lead for the United States with a clear round, and if she does so, she'll be well positioned for a $50,000 bonus today. Never mind. Early rail, 4 faults.
Unbelievable. I mean, the horse jumped up and almost drifts on top of the jump. I don't know that Casador understood that that was an oxer, you know, the width of the jump, and really came down on the back rail. 4 faults. We're seeing a lot of rails come down.
Well, it's too late for a redo, but Casador is jumping very well right now. Costly rail. $66,000 for first prize money here today, but Lorin Hough was in play for another $50,000 bonus.
Well, I think Lorin Hough, Will Simpson would like to have a mulligan on each jump like they do in golf sometimes. Riding hard to the last combination. Time is not a factor.
4/10 to spare across the finish line, but with the 4 faults early, her hopes of victory disappear at Spruce Meadows today, and that was really quite astonishing.
It was very strange. Watch this. The horse jumps up and really drifts on top. I'm quite confident Casadora did not understand that was an oxer.
Well, she bottomed out, and with it 4 faults. And no victory today for Lorin Hough. Our 2 entries with 1 time fault apiece are tied equal at the top of the standings right now as we move to Eric Lamaze, who has looked absolutely brilliant at Spruce Meadows this season, and it's a simple assignment. Clear and to the top of the standings.
At the moment, the 1 faulters are leading, and there is a jump off. If Eric can jump clean, he puts himself at the top of the standings for the moment.
And then the pressure will turn to Norman Delajoyo, our last to come in the second round of competition. He was the fastest clear with Glasgow, and now Hickstead and Eric Lamaze are in play.
I wouldn't expect that Eric will have time faults. He really does carry a lot of pace with Hickstead. This is the bogey jump so far, and he's over it.
Little rub there at the cloverleaf, but no faults incurred.
Combination left, and he is sitting on a clear round. Can he do it?
To the gas to get across the finish line. Time not a problem. All the rails left up. There is your leader at Spruce Meadows as some of the 30,000 on hand today. Congratulate Canada's Eric Lamaze. His waiting game will be short, Linda. Just 1 left to go.
Norman Delajoyo has to come in, jump a clear round to force a jump off. Eric Lamaze is in the clubhouse with a clear round, clearly in the lead.
Nice position to be in. There have not been a lot of clears, needless to say, today. Eric Lamaze has posted 2 of them. The fastest clear from the first round belonged to this man. As a result, he got the anchor position in round number 2. Can he force the jump off? The great veteran from Wellington, Florida, Norman Delajoyo, with his beautiful chestnut gelding Glasgow. 16 years of age. Can he deliver another magic moment here in the international ring?
Well, if anyone can, it would be Norman and Glasgow. Even with this horse having sustained injuries throughout its career, this is a great combination. Norman knows how to ride under pressure. He's ridden in Olympic Games, over in Nations Cups, all types of different pressure points. He would be the one I'd be worried about.
Glasgow getting a little strong there, but looks as though Norman's got him back now as they come down this tricky line.
Can he jump the bicycle? Oh no, it comes down.
A back toe and 4 faults, and there is a happy man. Eric Lamaze knows he has won the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
There is a very happy young man, Eric Lamaze and Hickstead. We did call them as a pre-event favorite in that they were the ones that were standing out in the field at the moment. An unfortunate finish for Norman Delajoyo, 12 faults.
And the bicycle jump was not the only problem on course for Glasgow and Norman. 2 more rails after that, a total of 12. So they go really from the penthouse of this competition, and they fall all the way down to 9th position. And that's how quickly things can change.
That's where the 2-round format really comes into play. Will Simpson, Antonio Chadware were 10th and 11th coming into the second round, but moved up to 4th and 5th. Our 2 finishers with 1 fault, Federico Fernandez and Mandy Porter. But it comes down to Eric Lamaze, the winner, who's standing by with Ian Allison.
What a spectacular day for the ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup, and what a spectacular victory to Canada's Eric Lamaze. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it in dominating fashion, Eric, and what a combination you and Hickstead have become. I think dominant players in this sport right now. What makes this little stallion tick?
He's just incredible. He wants to win just as much as me. He's got so much scope. He's so careful. As I was telling you, he's been here 1 month in Calgary competing at Spruce Meadows. He's had 1 rail down in the whole month, and prior to coming here, he had 16 classes before he had 1 rail. So you can applaud Hickstead right now.
A little bit of a superstar has arrived on the stage of international show jumping, and you did so today. You studied this course meticulously. I was with you earlier today. Did it serve up everything you expected?
Yeah, I had a plan for the first round, which worked out well. I knew the second round was quite difficult. The jumps were larger. The bicycle was in it. The Sydney plank was in it. These are difficult jump to jump. The time allowed was still a little bit short, so I knew the second round was for sure real.
Well, you didn't have to go to a jump off, and you get now to have the great reward for a job well done today. Rick Brower, the president of ATCO Power, with us in the winner's circle here. Another spectacular day of sport.
Fantastic. It was quite the thrill to watch the last 2 competitors, and we're happy that you brought it home for Canada, Eric, and very well deserved.
Well, it's a point well made. It's been over a decade since the Maple Leafs gone up to honor our champion today, and with the champion comes the champion's check. Rick, I think you have a presentation to make.
Absolutely, Eric. On behalf of ATCO Power, I'm very pleased to present to you a check for $66,000.
Earlier this summer, he went over $1 million in career earnings at Spruce Meadows, and now well on his way to $2 million. The great veteran from Schaumburg, Ontario, $66,000. He hands it back to me in trust, and I'm going to invite you 2 gentlemen to step forward, and as we did it the first time in 1990, hoist the crystal chalice. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Lamaze rides the Maple Leaf to victory at Spruce Meadows.
A beautiful day full of tradition. The military salute with the feu de joie. The ATCO Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup. 2 rounds to determine the winner. Potential of a jump-off, but there was only 1 horse and rider combination to master both rounds. Pre-event favorite Eric Lamaze and Hickstead showed us why they are considered amongst the best in the world. Flawless. Congratulations to Eric Lamaze. Now on behalf of my colleagues Ian Allison and Shana Nakoni, I'm Linda Heathcott. So long from Spruce Meadows.
Our organization is about family, it's about caring, integrity, bringing people together, and being part of a community. And all of us sharing and collaborating in order to build better communities.
First off, what we wanted to do is build a foundation, build a project that actually answered the need of the veterans. We met with over 200 vets. And then we also met with industry experts like the Mustard Seed who's running the Calgary project.
We'll work together to provide an environment where veterans are helping each other, which is what this village will actually do. They'll see each other, they'll interact with each other. They're going to find themselves back in a community of people whom they understood when they served. And that's the ultimate goal, is to get them to feeling like they're connected with something again.
The idea of tiny homes is that it's the right size, and in turn we can build it in a barrack style format. You have your privacy, But at the same time, you have this unit, and that's what the vets and our soldiers are used to, working as a unit.
We all come from the same walk of life, and we know what it's like to put ourselves out for another person and to have somebody's backs.
The only problem I have is I don't want to leave.
36 years after I got out, it's quite amazing for the acknowledgement, finally the recognition of what the soldiers do on a daily basis.
At least now I know that veterans, some people are thinking about us, especially when we're going through a rough time, lonely time, they don't know where to go. I'm glad that I learned that this place existed.
It's awesome, it's been a blessing, and they're lovely little places. That aspect has improved my life by 100%, especially since the rough couple years that I've had.
Our sponsorship and donation of these homes built in our factories here in Canada are a great privilege for us to be able to provide.
Hello, I'm Captain Eric Tenorio, the troop leader with the Lord Strathcona Horse Royal Canadian Ceremonial Mounted Troop. Our relationship with Spruce Meadows goes back to 1975. Needing a place to train with our horses, we turned to Spruce Meadows when the regiment was still in Calgary. Happened to be the first year that Spruce Meadows was operational. Together, since 1975, the troop has grown and Spruce Meadows has grown into what you see today. Without the continued support of Spruce Meadows, and especially the Southern family, we wouldn't be able to operate and continue to bring the history of Canada's cavalry to the people of Western Canada.
To be a Strathcona means to persevere in the face of adversity. It means to remember our forefathers and all they've accomplished and honor them and improve upon what they've laid out for us. To be a Strathcona is to put others before oneself.
What does it mean to be Canadian? Well, in my opinion, it's being proud of our beautiful country, whether it comes to our beautiful forests, natural lakes, and mountains from coast to coast, as well as being including and accepting of all ethnicities and cultures, and being very polite and respectful, even if someone has a different political opinion than you, and even if you don't like hockey, cheering on Team Canada in the World Juniors.
On behalf of the troop and the regiment, I'd like to send our best wishes through these trying times. Best of luck going forward, and we hope to see you again in 2021.
March 1918. The Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians found themselves on the Western Front of the World War. It was there that Lieutenant Gordon Flowerdew led the members of the Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians in what history now refers to as the last great cavalry charge.
Flowerdew's squadron, C squadron of Lord Strathcona's Horse, was in reserve right about where we're standing right now. The brigadier decided to commit Flowerdew's squadron to sweep around the far end of the wood and try and catch the Germans unaware as they were hopefully retreating from the attack in the wood. The Germans were basically ready for them with 2 lines of defenders, rifles, machine guns, and even artillery. And it was then that we had the fateful charge of March 30th.
Victory on the day came with cost, but it is recognized as a vital turning point in the Great War. A century later, today's Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians return to France. They return as celebrated and recognized heroes of a regiment that still today is embraced by the people of Moray. And Moray Wood today remains part of the fiber of that regiment.
It is very important to us because it is in our blood. Blood over grass symbolizes pretty much Moray Wood, so it's really, really big on us.
It means the world. It truly does.
It's definitely going to hit home for every Strathcona present.
The Strathconas arrived to mark the anniversary and were introduced to new mounts to allow them to reenact the charge of Moray Wood over the historic battleground that played host a century earlier.
100 years ago, that's exactly the route they took. I can only imagine what's going through their head.
It just sort of hits a guy. Once you cross the highway and start going up the hill, it's like, wow, this is it.
It's a true appreciation of what those young men did for their country and for each other.
March 30th, 2018. A century after the fact, the Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians honor the 100th anniversary of the charge of Moray Wood.
Paying attention to the smallest detail, getting to the destination the most efficient way possible, ensuring all individual elements are working together to drive high performance, and making sure you do it consistently. Being the best comes down to perfect execution. That's not just good show jumping. That's good railroading. We love a sport that rewards precision.
Hey, did you hear from the real estate agent?
No.
Anything from the agent?
No.
Anywhere from the agent?
No.
Yes, yes, yes.
No. No. No.
We hope you're enjoying watching the North American at home today. The Spruce Meadows shop carries Horseware Ireland blankets. Horseware Ireland makes blankets for dogs, goats, and horses, from miniature right up to draft horse. Not only does Horseware Ireland carry blankets for every size, they also have a blanket for every season. Featuring our fly sheets, shown here we have the Rambo Protector. It's our most popular blanket, offering superior protection from both flies and the sunlight, made from a unique patent and durable self-repairing fabric. This rug offers 65% UV protection and is designed to last many seasons. The Amigo bug rug, shown here in blue and aqua, is an excellent value protection. It is soft, absorbent, and durable with strong sun reflection properties, providing 65% UV protection. Shown here is the Mio fly sheet with attached hood. It's made from a soft knit polyester. It's designed for a lot of movement. It's ultra breathable, has great fly protection, as at a price point anyone can afford. We carry 2 summer sheets. Shown here in the white and navy is the Rambo Optima summer sheet. It has 90% UV coverage, great fly protection. It's particularly suitable for the broader horse and has the ultimate in shoulder freedom and movement due to the patent split technology. The second sheet we carry is the Amigo Aussie All-Rounder. It protects your horse's coat from sun damage with 100% UV protection, keeps the flies away, and is water resistant. Shown here with the new disc front closure. At the Spruce Meadows shop, we carry Horseware Ireland rain sheets. They come in a number of different weights, sizes, fits, and colors. Shown here in berry is the Rhino Turnout. It's a very durable material that allows for a lot of movement. It has anti-static, antibacterial, and it has a detachable hood. One of our most popular turnouts is the Mio, shown here in black and teal. It has a great, affordable price point, but the quality isn't compromised. Our most popular rain sheet is the Amigo Bravo 12. This sheet comes in a number of different fills, so you can wear this blanket all year round. This one comes in navy. It has a removable neck. You can put a number of different linings inside of it to make it warmer. It's waterproof and breathable. Shown here in black and gold is the Rambo Supreme Turnout. It offers elite protection and the highest of technology for your horse. Right now, the Spruce Meadows shop is open by appointment. We're available for gateside pickup, feed pickup or delivery, and online 24/7. The Spruce Meadows shop is open Monday to Friday, 9 till 5.
If there's a defining moment or watershed event in the history of the Spruce Meadows North American, it must be June 29th, 1990. On that day, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II made Spruce Meadows part of her royal visit to Canada. And to add to all of this, Spruce Meadows co-chairman Marg Southern had been selected to be Queen Elizabeth's lady-in-waiting for the entire royal tour. This meant that Mrs. Southern was away from Spruce Meadows for the 2 weeks leading up to the event. For those of us here, it was a very special time getting Spruce Meadows buffed and polished, so everything was just so for the return of Mrs. Southern and of course her very special guest. It was a magical day with many things planned around more than just the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Her Majesty enjoyed a full day at Spruce Meadows, including meeting all of the Spruce Meadows bloodstock, having an audience with the First Nations of the area from Treaty Number 7, inspecting the troops, and then enjoying the very best in championship show jumping. It all happened 30 years ago. Recently, Mrs. Southern had the opportunity to sit down via Zoom with Her Excellency, the British High Commissioner for Canada, Susan Lejeune-Delgazic, and reflect on that very special time 30 years ago.
We're here to talk about what I imagine must have been an extraordinary experience for you when lady-in-waiting to Her Majesty. And I wanted to start by asking you, what did you think when you first heard that you had been asked to do this?
And excited when I was invited to be Her Majesty II's lady-in-waiting. I kept wondering, how would this happen? You know, why would it happen? And, you know, because I didn't know how they select a person to be Her Majesty's lady-in-waiting. And after I got over the first feeling of humbled by the situation, then I thought, oh, well, probably because she was going to, Her Majesty II was going to be traveling all across Canada, and she was going to be coming to Alberta. And of course, I'm so involved with horses, and my girls are so involved with dogs. That was a good fit. So probably that's why I got invited, but I didn't know who suggested it or how this all came about.
And so what preparation did you get? So did somebody tell you what you were expected to do? Did you have like a training course?
A gentleman from England who had been in the service of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for probably 40 years, Sir Robin, came to Calgary, told me that this was going to happen if I would accept it. Well, of course, accept it. I mean, I was just so honored. And he told me a bit about what was expected. But I guess, you know, in the back of your, you know, what are you really expected to do and what should you do? And I think men give you kind of formal things that you would do. But in back of my mind, I thought, what do you wear? I was going to be with her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for at least 10 days. And I thought, now, what do you wear? What kind of events are we going to? And I had a bit of an itinerary, but not really very detailed. And of course, I was not going to be expected to speak. I was just expected to be there to assist Her Majesty. So what did I expect? Oh my goodness. I didn't know what to expect.
And so you talk about the you know, what should you wear? What should you do? How should you address her? Did it feel very intimidating?
Yeah, intimidating. But right away, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II just made me feel at ease. She's so gracious and such a wonderful lady that probably within the first 10, 15 minutes. And I probably now, being 30 years older, would have been a lot more relaxed, but I was anxious about the event and excited, and so looking forward to the whole trip across Canada.
And so so you were not you weren't just a lady in waiting for the portion of the trip that included Alberta.
No.
You were with her for the whole thing. So where else did you go?
I got invited to meet her to go to Reykjavik, Iceland. I don't know all the protocol on this, but years ago, apparently, wherever Her Majesty was going to be to come into a country, you went to the place where she was leaving from to come into. And so that's why I went to Iceland to meet her. And that, I'd never been to Iceland either. So that was an exciting trip, and met her on the royal ship, Britannia at the time. And that was an adventure in its own. So I traveled across, we visited certainly Ottawa and Toronto. We invited Red Deer, Calgary, Edmonton, just across the prairies. It was part of Canada that I knew quite well. So.
And so what exactly, you said you were expected to help her out, so you didn't make speeches and you weren't involved in all that side of it. What precisely does a lady in waiting do?
I think Sir Robert was good enough to give me a little information, and that I knew most of the cities that I was going to be going to, but that I would know the people within the cities who she probably, I was not told, but who she probably would meet. Like, she might be meeting the mayors, she might be meeting the premiers, she might be meeting some of the senior dignitaries within the city. So I did a little research myself to find out about these people, what their positions were, and what their attachments really were to royalty. And I really was very fortunate, because my husband and I have been real royalists over the years. And my husband, Ron, particularly, knew all of the history, the military, and he gave me a good background in the sense of that side of it. But then when Her Majesty was in the cities, she would like to know something about them before, and so I tried to help her out that way.
So you were sort of like a Canadian encyclopedia, walking along beside her to fill her in on all those interesting facts about the places that she was visiting.
Yes. You know.
And so when she got to Spruce Meadows, which I know is a place, a very special place, and it's something that you and your husband built together, and how did it feel when she arrived at your place?
Well, you know, I have such a good team here at Spruce Meadows, with my husband, who loves, first of all, he loves the place, and he is a very detailed man. And he spent a lot of time, he took off, I bet you, 3 weeks off from his own position in work, and came out and made sure all the flags were flying correctly, that there were lots of beautiful signs up that would recognize the flowers were amazing. And that our team, who is people still with us, Ian Allison and Joanne Nimitz, and at that time, Randy Fedoruk was the head of the events. They had everything laid out, but Ron wanted to make so sure that the people in the community would come and see Her Majesty here. So he didn't want just the dignitaries like the mayor and the premier and the chief executive officers. He wanted the stadium to be filled with people from the community. But we had never had an event here where you wear a hat and gloves and are dressed to the T's. Everyone pretty well in Western Canada are used to the rodeo and it's blue jeans. So he wanted everyone to be dressed up very nicely. And so when we arrived, it was exciting to see all of these women with their beautiful hats on and their gloves, and they were as excited, I think, as I was to come into the stadium at Spruce Meadows. It was a special, special day.
And you know, you and Her Majesty the Queen and her family, most of them share, as you mentioned earlier on, a love of dogs and a love of horses. Did that give you plenty to talk about? Yes, and she's so well versed in everything that's happening in the world. And for sure, she knew a lot about Canada, some things that she knew about Canada that I didn't even know. So she was very easy to visit with, but yes, she does love the horses. And I had been at the Olympics when her daughter, Prince Anne, rode in the 3-day event. It was a rainy, miserable, miserable day. And I for sure have had miserable days when we're put on tournaments here at Spruce Meadows. So I knew what that was all about. But I felt sorry for her because she's like no other parent. I mean, all other parents are excited about their children making the teams to ride for their country in the Olympics. And then, of course, since then, her granddaughter has won a medal at the Olympics in 3-day eventing in England. Yeah, she did at the London Olympics. It was fantastic. Yeah, and I don't think we talk so much about dogs, but she also loves racing, and I love the horse races too. And so I knew the names. I did some research on it to know some of the names of the horses that we're riding. It were her fondest horses in races in England. So it was easy. And the other thing is Her Majesty the Queen is the Queen of the world of the British Empire, but she also is a mother, and she has children, and it's you know, that brings a closeness to her. I had 2 daughters, and she has her 4 children. So yes, we talk somewhat about children, and that it was easy to be with her. It really was. She's so charming. I think it's a huge talent that she has. Everybody, when they meet her, and I've met her a couple of times too, everybody is, as you say, intimidated. But she manages, despite that, to put everybody at their ease. It's a fantastic gift that she has. It's wonderful. So if you look back on that day 30 years ago, what are your strongest memories? What are the things that have stuck in your mind about the day? I think, you know, our team here had put together a reception also by one of the Indian treaties, and they had set up a powwow on the All Canada ring, and so she met the Indian chiefs and a number of the indigenous ladies, and you know, she made them feel at ease just like she makes everyone else feel at ease. It was a special day. We had a new bronze of a mare foal and a stallion unveiled, and it was exciting to make sure that that was ready at the time. And our premier at the time was Honorable Don Getty, and his wife Margaret were here. And I had a little granddaughter, Kelly, who was 5 years old, and presented the flowers. And
it was just, everything went so smoothly because our team had put everything together. And she is so interested in horses that we went through the whole breeding program that we have at Spruce Meadows. And she was interested, and we raise Hanoverian horses. So the Hanoverian Kings were the ones working with.
Oh yeah, that's her family.
Yeah, her great-great-grandfather would have been involved with the crossbreeding of the horses to produce the Hanoverians. So, you know, there's, she made it like she was so interested in everything we did on our farm, as well as then coming into the stadium for the competition.
And that was the first time that you awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Cup?
Yes.
Do you remember who won it that year?
Yes, Alice Delaney won it. She was a young American rider. But since then, you know, we've had almost every famous top rider, a Canadian rider, and American riders also win this. Eric Lamaze with his famous horse Hickstead has won it 4 times. Beezie Madden, who I think is the most beautiful woman rider in show jumping in the world, she's won it 4 times. Kent Farrington, a young American rider who rides a very, very fast horse named Gazelle, had won it. And, you know, I think that was quite inspiring to see how interested Her Majesty was in every horse that came in that ring. And when a horse would come in and it was wanting to stop at a jump or wouldn't move on, she knew right away, you know, she would say, you know, the rider isn't riding forward enough, or the rider isn't using her legs, or not using her spurs enough. So, I mean, she was enthralled, and because of that, it made everyone that was sitting around her so pleased to know that she was interested in what was happening in that ring.
Yeah, and she's a real expert, as you say. I mean, she doesn't just watch it as a spectator, she watches it as somebody who is following it and really knows her stuff.
That's true, yeah. And, you know, we've had the Queen Elizabeth Cup now for over 30 years. And this year we've had to cancel, which is really sad for us and for the riders.
Yeah.
The thing is that ever since Her Majesty wasn't able to come back, we've had the Governor General of Canada come to represent it. We've had Honorable David Johnson. We've had Ray Nutrition. And if they couldn't come, then we've had our own local lieutenant governors, and from Honorable Normie Kwong, we've had Honorable Lois Mitchell. And then if they can't come, we've been so fortunate to able to have the chiefs of defense staff come. And even one time, Lady Patricia Mountbatten,
who wow,
patron of the Lord Strathconas in Alberta.
Yeah.
She came and made the presentations to the winners. So we've always tried to carry on the formality and the protocols of the royalty during the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Yeah. And that's been fun to do, but it's also, it's kind of a history lesson every time we have it. It's a history lesson for the people in the general community to know more about the royalty and about what goes on behind the scenes.
And I think it's wonderful that you've brought together those two aspects of the UK-Canada relationship. So first of all, the fact that we share the same monarch, but you also have a strong military component in the Spruce Meadows event. So you bring across also, you know, British military representatives who take part either on horseback or playing wonderful military music as part of that festival of horsemanship, which is fantastic. So you really, the whole Spruce Meadows event just sums up two of the most important things about our shared history, as you say, and our current relationship too.
Yeah, well, it's just been an honor for us to be involved with the royalty on all sides of it, ever since it's happened, ever since we've had the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, and we'll carry it on in the future. I know that my daughters, Linda and Nancy, are very, very involved with Spruce Meadows now. And as I step aside, they are taking over more and more, and they will make sure that it goes on, because they were both riders themselves, and they loved all of the competitions that we have. And to have people come, you know, top riders like Leslie Howard and Ludger Beerbaum and the Whitakers from England, come and compete in these events. That makes it, you know, even more special.
And it's a huge, you make a huge contribution to the local economy, as well as it being a wonderful festival of sportsmanship. This is something that puts Calgary on the map, because it is considered to be one of those top events in the world.
That's so nice of you to say. I hope it does. I'm very proud of our city, Calgary, and to be able to contribute something to Calgary, and even thinking that it goes beyond Calgary to be recognized in Canada is very, very special for us.
It is a very, very special place, and your, you know, the work, as you said, that was started by your husband and now carried on by you and your daughters in your wake is really, really impressive. And I think the fact it was no coincidence that Her Majesty was so keen to include that in her trip. Given her love of horses, but also I think in recognition of the fantastic work that you have both done setting up Spruce Meadows from nothing, because there was nothing there when you started. I mean, it's all your work. Incredible.
Those kind words are very, very much appreciated. I thank you so very much for taking the time to talk with me today, and we welcome you back whenever you can come, you and your family. And we hope that with this pandemic getting finished with, that you'll be able to come next year to be with us. If not at the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, if you can be with us even in September when we have the Masters Horse Show, when we have a very, very outstanding British Day. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you so much. As always, it's been wonderful talking to you. You're a complete inspiration, and I look forward to seeing you in person again before too long. Thank you so much.
The Queen's motorcade is now making its way onto the grounds here at Spruce Meadows. The crowd that's been gathering all day is lining the laneway. A warm round of applause from the crowd. The Queen has been warmly embraced here in Calgary. She is accompanied by Mr. Ron Southern, the co-chairman of Spruce Meadows. Her Majesty is also being welcomed by Nancy Southern, my CTV colleague, who will be part of a presentation in a couple of moments and will act as a tour guide when the Queen is taken through the riding hall and has a first-hand look at the breeding program here at Spruce Meadows. It's one of the very best in the world. There you see the riding hall. Her Majesty is now taking part in the unveiling of the Family of the Horse, beautiful statues that will become a permanent part of Spruce Meadows. In fact, identical statues are on display outside Calgary City Hall. A gift from the Southerns to the city of Calgary, noting the importance of the horse in the growth of Western Canada. There you see Her Majesty unveiling the Family of the Horse. 3 magnificent bronzes permanently situated in front of the Spruce Meadows Riding Hall, dedicated by Queen Elizabeth II in today's public ceremony. It is indeed fascinating to consider just how this day came about, why the Queen is making Spruce Meadows part of her royal tour. We had an opportunity earlier today to speak with Ron Southern, the co-chairman of Spruce Meadows, about the hours of hard work that made this day possible.
A phone call from the provincial government to Marg indicating that the royal visit was going to be on. This was, I believe, in February. And they said that they felt they would like to have a public day in southern Alberta, open to everyone, and they couldn't think of a better subject to have that day around than the Queen's interest in the horse. So Marg agreed, and that's how it started. But between February and today, there's been the most extraordinary effort here. Spruce Meadows goes on each year with 3 major tournaments, but this is something absolutely unique for us. It's required not just, I mean, the competition part of it hasn't been that difficult, but there has been all of the protocol, all of the security, all of the media, and the desire to have this as a watershed event that will bring international recognition to Spruce Meadows, to Calgary, and maybe to Canada.
Her Majesty is now inside the Spruce Meadows Riding Hall, viewing what they call free jumping. The horses are turned loose without saddle or rider and jump fences on their own. It's really something to watch. Nancy and her sister Linda are providing the Queen with a commentary of what's going on, and I'm sure Her Majesty will really enjoy this portion of the afternoon. Free jumping shows the horse's natural ability to jump and without prompting. The horses, I think, really enjoy this as well. It demonstrates jumping comes very naturally to them. The Queen will be heading next to a meeting with the Treaty No. 7 nations. That's where we will join the royal entourage when they arrive at that area of the grounds. When Her Majesty arrived in Iceland earlier this week, on hand to greet her was Marg Southern, the co-chairman of Spruce Meadows, who was chosen to be the Queen's lady-in-waiting during her Canadian visit, a special privilege indeed. Ian Allison had an opportunity to talk with Marg earlier this week before she departed for Iceland.
Are you up to date on all your protocol? You've had a number of distinguished visitors to Spruce Meadows over the years, but this one has to be particularly special.
This one is really special. I mean, how does one get an opportunity to do this? I mean, I just feel, you know, it's such a privilege to be able to meet the Queen, let alone to be able to spend some time with her, to be able to really get to know the royal family and to get to know the various things that are going to happen during that week. So it's just a very exciting time for me.
You get to travel to Iceland previously. Is there some kind of a school undertaken there in order for you to be more comfortable with your new role?
I don't think that it's that. I think that it does give me an opportunity, though, to meet the other people in the entourage, because when the Queen travels, there is a large group of people that travel with her, of course, and I will have an opportunity to get to know them better before we do come back to Calgary. So we'll spend about a day and a half, and I've never been to Iceland, so what an interesting thing to be able to do, to not only be able to meet Her Majesty, but also to be able to see this country, which I understand is so interesting.
You've never been to a Spruce Meadows tournament as a spectator either. I think the day will be rather unique for you in that way.
Oh, that is right. We've talked about it. Ron and I, and Anne and Baz French in particular, have talked about having an opportunity to actually sit and observe a full event. And I'm sure when I come into Spruce Meadows, I'll be concerned, you know, is this in place, is that in place? And I'm sure everything will be in place, but you always wonder. But to be able to just sit and watch and to be able to see a whole event, it's going to be a great time for me.
Canada's native people are a big part of the festivities today. They've built a special Indian village here on the grounds, which the Queen will be visiting. Here's Nancy.
One of the stops along the way for Her Majesty is the Treaty No. 7 Native Nations. The Sarcee, the Stoney, and the Blackfoot are represented here, and this is the only time the Queen will have a chance to meet the natives of Canada.
The native encampment is situated just north of the International Jumping Ring on the All-Canada course. 5 chiefs from the Treaty No. 7 Native Nations are present to greet Her Majesty today, and Her Majesty has been enthralled with her entire visit. The treaties of Canada were designed to originally ensure peace between the natives and non-native people. Treaty No. 7 is significant to Calgary and the surrounding area in that it combines the Stoney, Sarcee, and Blackfoot nations. The youth of the Treaty No. 7 nations have been exuberant in performing their ceremonial dance, and it looks as though Her Majesty has been having a great time meeting with the 5 chiefs represented here.
There is a captivating beauty in the still of the morning. The sun rises on another day at Spruce Meadows. There may be no more serene setting in the world of show jumping. Horses grazing quietly in the meadow with the majestic Rocky Mountains as the backdrop. It's the premier equestrian center in Canada. They call it the home of champions. Over the past few weeks, Spruce Meadows has been sprucing up for the royal visit. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II will soon be arriving to view an event named in her honor. The stables have been cleaned, the barns and buildings have been painted. Tons of freshly cut flowers adorn the flower gardens and the International Ring. The flags are up, signifying Spruce Meadows' international flavor. The show jumping course has been set. We are ready for one of the most significant days in Canadian show jumping history. We are coming to you from just outside Calgary, Alberta, from the showcase of equestrian sport in Canada, Spruce Meadows. Today, CTV is proud to bring you the first ever Queen Elizabeth II Cup with a purse of $100,000. Hello again, everyone. I'm Doug Smith, and on behalf of Nancy Southern, Ian Allison, and our entire crew, welcome to CTV's special coverage of the royal visit to Spruce Meadows. Her Majesty will be arriving shortly, and we have been blessed with a gorgeous day for this, the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Cup. As we mentioned, they have been preparing for weeks here at Spruce Meadows for this special occasion, and the excitement is building. For more on that, right now let's check in with my colleague and good friend, Nancy Southern.
Doug, in less than an hour, the Queen will be driving up this driveway for her day at Spruce Meadows. Months and months of preparation and work have gone into this event, and the Queen will be treated to a viewing of the bloodstock of Spruce Meadows, a chance to meet the native people of Canada at the Treaty No. 7 encampment, and she'll be thrilled to the wonders of show jumping in the International Ring here at Spruce Meadows for the Queen Elizabeth Cup.
The Queen's motorcade has just now departed downtown Calgary. Her arrival is just minutes away. CTV's coverage of the royal visit to Spruce Meadows continues in a moment. Some of the best riders in North America are here today. We are getting ready for the competition, and we wondered if they are nervous about performing in front of the Queen. Let's find out. Here's Ian Allison.
Back in the International Hitching Ring with Mark Laskin. Mark, a tough track out there today.
Yeah, it really is, Ian. It really isn't that scopy. There are a few very big verticals, but what really makes the course difficult is the time allowed is very, very, very tight. So we're not allowed any time to dawdle and take our time and be precise. The horses are, consequently, you'll see a lot of fences coming down that maybe might not otherwise fall down.
Going into this, you've got to be one of the favorites. Tell me, any added pressure jumping before Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth?
I don't think so. I think we are taught to block out all those kind of distractions and concentrate on the job at hand. And, you know, I look at the fences and I'm not going to be looking at the royal box, hopefully until the end of the class.
Mark Laskin getting ready to go in for the second round of the Queen Elizabeth Cup. He's a veteran of competing in front of royalty.
Course designer Richard Jeffries has laid out an especially demanding course for this, the first ever Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Some very high fences and some very wide oxers. Now, Nancy Southern has had an opportunity to walk the course. Let's go down to Nancy now and find out how this class is run.
Well, Doug, the first round was a great introduction to the course for the horses and riders. However, the second round poses some different problems. Richard Jeffrey from Oxford, England is our course designer. Richard, maybe you could describe the second round.
Well, the first course we had more of a technical course with fences in lines like from the Liverpool through the triple bar, the double. This time I've reduced the number of fences and included some more scopier fences, but with more room to get to them. So we're really testing a little bit more scope now in the second round.
What are the biggest jumps on the course?
The biggest jump was what was the last fence in the first round, fence 12. That's a good 5'6" spread and just under 5 foot high.
And the double Liverpools have been introduced. They're always a problem for the riders.
Right, and here those horses haven't had a chance to get into this ring beforehand to jump them. So what I did, I introduced just the individual Liverpool in the first round so they had a chance of seeing it. Now they've got to jump the double of Liverpools, which I say adds a completely new question to the course.
Richard, have you ever met the Queen before?
No, my first time.
Any trepidation about building for Her Majesty?
Should we say petrified?
Great, thanks very much, Richard. Best of luck.
Thank you.
The Queen is now entering the international ring here at Spruce Meadows as we get ready for our coverage of the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, and a standing ovation from the more than 25,000 here.
Look at all the pom-poms, Doug. Oh, and there's the lady in waiting, Mark Southern, accompanying Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
What an exciting time it's been for Mark these last few days.
And what a thrill for Spruce Meadows.
The Queen will be watching the second round of our competition and the jump off as part of her 2-hour visit to Spruce Meadows, and will present a Crystal Cup to the winner. Her Majesty's daughter, Princess Anne, was an outstanding rider in her own right, competing in Olympic and international 3-day event competitions.
What a thrill. A beautiful day. Thousands of people here at Spruce Meadows to honor the presence of Her Majesty.
Nancy, you had an opportunity to meet Her Majesty earlier today. It had to be a special occasion for you, to be sure.
I was certainly thrilled, Doug, being presented. Now she'll disembark from the barouche and be met by the co-chairman of the Spruce Meadows tournaments, Mr. Ron Southern, who will escort her up to the Royal Box, and the second round of the Queen Elizabeth Cup will be underway.
This event will become the anchor of future jumping Alberta competitions here at Spruce Meadows. This is the first ever Queen Elizabeth II Cup. 33 entries today in the inaugural event. And look at the ovation.
What a lovely lady. Just a great honor and great thrill for Marg and Ron Southern, all of the people that have worked so hard at Spruce Meadows, the volunteers, the staff. And who would have ever dreamt 15 years ago that Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, would be on the grounds here at Spruce Meadows?
Well, as Ron mentioned in the interview earlier, they wanted some kind of an occasion where they could gather together many people from Alberta and across the country, where in an outdoor venue like Spruce Meadows could have an opportunity to see Her Majesty, and of course, her being such a distinguished horsewoman, horses came into play, and no better place than Spruce Meadows.
Well, actually, Doug, Richard Jeffrey, the course designer, was saying to me that she very seldom gets an opportunity to go to a show jumping competition in Great Britain. So it's just a real treat to have her here, and an honor.
You can see the distinguished guests in the Royal Box as Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II takes her seat, and we get ready for this competition. Welcome back to Spruce Meadows. Doug Smith along with Nancy Southern as we begin the second round of competition. The top 20 of 33 entries return for the second round, and our first competitor is from Calgary, Linda Southern and the Spirit of Xerox. She had 8 jumping faults in the opening round. As we see Linda salute the Queen. Her Majesty has been given a program, I suspect, and will try to keep score on what's happening.
Interesting, Doug. Linda was presented to Her Majesty upon her arrival, and Linda said to Her Majesty, "Ma'am, I hope you enjoy today's competition. I hope you do better, enjoy it more than I did the first round." Linda had 8 faults in the first round. So she was chuckling away at that.
They've shortened the course now. In the opening round, they had 12 fences, 15 elements, a distance of 660 meters. Now in the second round, 10 jumps, 13 elements. 540 meters is the distance, the speed 400 meters per minute, and a time allowed of 81 seconds. The fences are 1, 2, 11 ABC, 13, 14, 4, 15, 12, 16 AB, and 17. So let's get ready now for Linda Southern.
The Spirit of Xerox is a magnificent 10-year-old Irish-bred horse with about 3/4 thoroughbred in him. The rest is the Irish draft. One of the things that's taken its toll on this difficult test posed by Richard Jeffries is this time allowed. The horses have to gallop at a speed of 400 meters per minute, which means they have to be really moving to come within the time allowed. If they exceed it, they incur 1/4 of a time penalty for each second or portion of a second they go over the time allowed.
That speed, 400 meters per minute. What would that be in miles per hour? About 28, 30 miles an hour?
Exactly.
Rider knocks the fence down. It's 4 jumping faults. A refusal will cost 3. A second refusal means another 6 faults are added. A third refusal means the horse and rider are eliminated.
Here are the 2 very difficult, big, imposing oxers. Why jump this fence here? She's clear so far. Coming down now to the double Liverpools and a 5'10" vertical. Just 5 gallop steps away from the Liverpools. Ooh, rattles the first one, clears the second, and gets over the Canadian Utilities panel. A sterling performance turned in by the Spirit of Xerox and Linda Southern.
Well, I'm sure all the riders are going to be very nervous, but here to open the second round, clear performance for Linda Southern. She'll add 8 from the opening round, so a total of 8 faults through 2 rounds for Linda Southern. As Her Majesty chats with co-chairman Ron Southern, on course now Barney Ward, the riding legend from the United States. He's part of a strong American team here today that includes former U.S. national team members Bernie Traurig, Hap Hansen, and Barney Ward. This is Wait for Me with 12 jumping faults in the opening round.
Barney Ward is an interesting rider. He's not a very tall man, but he is full of muscle. He's an ex-AFL football player, played for the Boston Patriots at one time before he moved on to his show jumping career. Barney's always been noted to ride very difficult horses. Wait for Me is no exception.
Barney's 46 years old now. He lives in Brewster, New York.
And now the double Liverpools. This could be a problem for Wait for Me. With the water sitting down out in front of jump 16A and B, some of the horses will look down and hesitate, but he clears it. And the 5'10" last vertical, he's clear. And a super time.
77.76. The time allowed is 81 seconds. Anything over that and you will incur time penalties. It's a very sophisticated score clock here that actually adds, with the computer, adds the penalty times as soon as they incur. So there you see, total of 12 through 2 rounds for Barney Ward. A look from high above Spruce Meadows, and a big crowd assembled here today for the visit of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, and this the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Cup named in her honor. Rich Fellers from the U.S., El Mirasol on course now, and in the opening round, 8 faults for Rich Fellers. We'll also see him later in the competition with another horse.
Leading the competition to date is Linda Southern on the Spirit of Xerox with just a 2-round total of just 8 faults. El Mirasol is an interesting horse. When one watches him jump, it doesn't appear that he has tremendous power. He kind of slithers over each fence, but he seems to always be in the top events and placing well. He's just had a rail down though.
Beautiful 8-year-old chestnut gelding, 17 hands high.
Ooh, and a big takeoff to that oxer. Made the horses jump an extra 6 feet wide. But watch this horse. He really is low to the jump when he's at the top of it. He doesn't spring up over it like a lot of the horses we see. He's got excellent technique. His front legs tuck up right against his chest and just creeps over them. Good round, but he has 4 faults from the first round, added to his 8 faults from the first round for a total of 12.
There's the hitching ring back out beyond the international ring where the horse and rider can prepare to enter this difficult course. We're waiting now for entry number 85. It's Dale Harvey. Pick Triumph 2 is his horse. He had 4 3/4 faults in the opening round, so he incurred some time faults, went over that time allowed of 99 seconds in the opening round. The riders have to be so very nervous today performing in front of Her Majesty.
Not only performing in front of Her Majesty, Doug, but because of this big event, there is $100,000 in prize money on the line. There are 4 companies which have sponsored: Canadian Pacific, Alberta Natural Gas, Canadian Utilities, and ATCO. And I think the riders are here not only for the honor of winning the first ever Queen Elizabeth II Cup, but a large portion of that $100,000 in prize money. Pink Trump is an interesting horse. He's very closely related to the world champion horse, Mr. T. He's by the same sire and has very similar bloodlines on the dam side. The sire is Pink König.
Dale is from Laguna Beach, California. Top American and top Canadian riders here. We're going to see the great Ian Miller a little bit later.
Carrying just 4 1/4 faults. 4 3/4 faults. Pink Trump, if he can go clear with Dale Harvey, he can move into the lead of the Queen Elizabeth Cup. 3 jumps left to go now.
We've been blessed with just an absolutely spectacular day. As you can see, the course is in magnificent condition. The grass very lush. There's a rail down. And he's back with more time faults in the second round as well. 4 3/4 in the second round. Add to that 4 3/4 from the opening round. So identical for performances both times round for Dale Harvey, a time of a total of 9.5 faults. Alberta Premier Don Getty chatting with Her Majesty the Queen. Get ready now for Hap Hansen from Encinitas, California, a veteran rider. He's having a sensational season, already several Grand Prix wins. And he's got the luxury of having several mounts that are capable of producing a Grand Prix victory. And one of them is this horse, Zulu. 10-year-old black gelding, a huge horse, 17 two hands high.
And a very young horse, too. He hasn't had a lot of international experience. He's Dutch bred. But Hap is an expert. A lot of the riders refer to Hap Hansen as a machine. He's just an automaton. He can make a horse do anything. Just had a rail, though. And a second one. So leading the Queen Elizabeth II Cup so far is Linda Southern on the Spirit of Xerox with 8 jumping faults. Hap will now have 12 going into the last into the last fences here.
We will see Hap again with his horse Juna Paris.
This horse has tremendous power, though. Over the big spread jumps, he's probably one of the best horses in the world.
Gorgeous looking animal.
So a total of 12 faults for Zulu and Hap Hansen.
On course now, Michael Endicott from Saratoga, California. A young 22-year-old, a former American Junior Rider of the Year. And this is the first time in the international ring today for the horse Zenas. 4.5 faults in the opening round.
Very big, powerful horse. Michael does an excellent job of keeping this horse balanced. Because he's such a big horse, the horse tends to get a bit strung out and therefore flat over the jumps, creating some knockdowns. But Mike is doing just a great job of keeping the horse balanced and springing up over these massive obstacles.
Young rider with a very bright future. He could be a future Olympian for the U.S. team. Rail down at that Alberta Natural Gas vertical.
Oh, and Zenas looked down at that jump, the red Spruce Meadows planks. A little bit spooky in this international ring for a newcomer. It's doubly more difficult because the horses have never had a chance to get warmed up at this tournament. This is a fresh class, one-time only event, the Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
Just under the time allowed in the second round, 8 faults for Michael Endicott. And he had his 4.5 in the opening round, so 12.5 for Michael Endicott.
The first knockdown for Michael Endicott and Zenas occurred at the Alberta Natural Gas jump. But you can see Michael gives way too much room to his horse. He's just pushing him out of the saddle. Creates the first knockdown, and then the horse got a little bit spooky after that.
Ian Allison is standing by now with Candace Schlamm of the United States.
I'm with Candace Schlamm back in the hitching ring, one of only 4 riders to go clear. What was the secret to conquering the course today?
Just staying calm and letting it all kind of happen.
You told me the combination rode a little differently than you thought it would.
Yeah, well, we walked it a little bit tight, and the way that my mare was riding the second half of the course, she was a little bit ready going forward, so I really had to steady up, so I think that gave me a little...
How many double cleans today?
Hopefully 1.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
This now is Linda Southern with Chrysler's Anaconda. This horse in the opening round with 8 jumping faults. You see the bonnet attached around the ears of this horse to keep the flies away.
As well as the sound, this is a very tough mare. She gets rattled at noises and the flags flapping and the bands moving around and the people moving around on the stands. So Linda actually stuffs this mare's ears with cotton batting. And the bonnet not only keeps the flies out, but it keeps the cotton in and the horse's concentration focused on the jumps. Linda's leading the Queen Elizabeth Cup to this point in time with her horse, the Spirit of Xerox. And if she can go clear now with Chrysler's Anaconda, then she would have a tie for first place between herself.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Okay, let's see how Linda can do now.
You can see this horse is very testy about her head. She's always moving her head around and swishing her tail. She's a very difficult horse to ride, but she likes to jump the jumps clean. And as I say that, I probably jinxed her.
See that jump right there? It's an oxer. It's separated. Some of these oxers, the width is actually wider than the height is in distance. 5'11" on some of those width on some of those oxers.
Oh, and she knocks the last jump
so
down.
12.25 jumping faults as she just went over the time allowed. 12.25 through 2 rounds for Linda.
You watch this horse, she really starts throwing her head around. She's very feisty. There's the bonnet you can see that keeps the horses, the cotton batten in the horse's ears and the flies out. But she is a beautiful little mare. She looks like a little Dutch girl, and she is a Dutch bred horse.
Let's
Linda,
meet
a little
Linda now.
fresh
Here's
coming into
Ian.
that final vertical, a tough break.
Yeah, that's not her forte to jump that. She jumped good. I was pleased with her, but I'm most pleased that for a few brief moments I lead the Queen's Cup.
Congratulations.
Bernie Tromrick from the United States and his horse Maybe Forever. Going to head a field of 2-4-6 with 4 jumping faults in the opening round. So now it starts to get tense.
Well, Bernie Tromrick is one of the coolest customers in the world of show jumping. Tenseness is, he doesn't know what it is. He is a very intense rider, very studious rider, very like Ian Miller in his concentration on the course. Maybe Forever is a truly great international athlete. With just 4 faults, Bernie Tromrick could take over the lead in the Queen Elizabeth Cup from Linda Southern and Spirit of Xerox. However, there are quite a few difficult obstacles left to jump.
A 45-year-old veteran from San Marcos, California.
Bernie actually switched from his show jumping, his illustrious show jumping career, to the dressage competitions for a while, where he actually made the shortlist for the U.S. Olympic team in 1984, excuse me.
It's amazing that he's one of the only riders in history to compete in all 3 Olympic equestrian disciplines, dressage, 3-day, and show jumping. So he is a truly gifted rider.
And there's our new leader of the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, Maybe Forever, and Bernie Tromrick.
4 faults through 2 rounds for Bernie. CTV's coverage of the royal visit to Spruce Meadows continues in a moment. Let's check out Mark Laskin now, formerly of Edmonton, now lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is Derby Castle with 4 faults in the opening round. He could tie Bernie Tromrick for the lead with a clear performance.
Judging by his name, you can tell that this is an Irish horse. It's been a while since Mark's been back in Canada competing, and it sure is nice to have him back. He was the winner of the Shell Cup at the Spruce Meadows National just 3 weeks ago on the only Canadian horse that went clear in the first round of the Queen Elizabeth Cup. However, he's got his work cut out for him right now with Derby Castle.
Well, he lives down in New Mexico and has a stable down there, trains horses, but he's a true blue, proud Canadian, a big fan of the Edmonton Oilers, so he's glad to be back here competing, and he's been doing very well. He won a big competition during the national tournament here at Spruce Meadows. Took home $30,000.
This horse is jumping as well as I have seen him jump. You know, Mark actually shaved today. Like the hockey players, Mark doesn't usually shave when it comes to a big competition throughout the week. And yet, today he decided he would shave. I guess that's presuming he's going to meet the Queen. And he has moved into a tie for the lead with Bernie Tromrick and Maybe Forever, Mark Laskin and Derby Castle.
Mark Laskin and Harvey Castle at a time of 79.78 gave a total of 4 faults.
Mark has an exquisite ability of riding with a very soft hand, but still imposes a very strong ride from his legs and his back. He's as exact a rider when it comes to takeoff points in front of the jumps as they come. You can see the concentration in his face, but look at the way his hands follow the way the horse is going.
Okay, Mark Laskin is with Ian Allison.
Mark, you're at the top of the leaderboard. How does it feel?
Something tells me that I won't be there all day, but right now it feels real good.
You got another one to come. Did you learn anything out there?
Well, was really good to be able to ride this one around. I know the time's tight. If I just stick to my plan with the other one, hopefully she'll jump clean and be in the jump off.
Go get ready.
Thanks.
Well done, Mark Laskin. He could be headed to a jump off this afternoon. He is going to return a little bit later with his horse Voila T that was clear in the first round. You're looking now at one of the top female riders in the entire world, Laura Tidball-Valiski from Langley, British Columbia, and her magnificent horse, Lavendel 48, 4 jumping faults in the first round.
Well, Lavendel is an old campaigner, and Laura's nickname for this horse is Levi. He looks like he's a little bit difficult here in the second round. I know that she's changed bridles to have a little more control. And this horse does tend to get lugging her a little bit down to the jumps.
Levi has been through the wars, that's for sure. She has been managing this horse as it gets on in years very, very closely, not to overwork the horse and keep it ready for the major competitions like this one. Now the Liverpool's okay.
And coming down to the last jump.
Oh,
and Laura Tidball-Valiski, there's her husband Brent.
Nicely done.
A beautiful, fast round.
Moves into a tie for the lead with 4 faults and definitely the best time. Just over 70 seconds in the second round, so she was very quick. A pat of approval for that performance by Lavendel 48. Yes, sirree.
We're halfway through the second round now. The second up.
The second time today, Hap Hansen of the United States and his horse Juniperis. We've had 3 horses now go through the second round clear and have a total of 4 through 2 rounds. So that's the plan for Hap, go clear and move into a tie for the lead.
Only in the case of equality of faults for first place will we have a jump off. So right now the 4 faults are all sitting in the position where they'll have to come back for a jump off. However, if there were 2 clear round performances, that would also force a jump off, and the 4 faults will be placed according to their times in the second round. Hap Hansen is a master at time. In fact, in 1988, in a clinch ride in the Bank of Montreal Nations Cup, Hap rode this horse within 2/100ths of a second to beat out the British show jumping team here at Spruce Meadows. This horse, Juniperis, is a French horse that was actually shown at Spruce Meadows by the French team before Hap Hansen was able to purchase this horse.
Formerly ridden by Hubert Bourdi of the French team, 15 years old. Beautiful chestnut. Oh, and a rail down right at the end. And that'll be 8 through 2 rounds for Hap Hansen. So not good enough to move him into a 4-way tie for first place, but nonetheless a very good effort by Hap and that beautiful gelding Juniperis.
Coming down to the double Liverpools, Hap really holds Juniperis off these jumps, was really concentrating, but then maybe took a little bit too much away from his impulsion to be able to clear that Canadian Utilities panel.
Her Majesty the Queen taking in today's competition, perusing the scorebook there for who's who in this competition. Michael Endicott now from Saratoga, California, a young 22-year-old, and his horse Mont Bambi.
This is a great horse. Mont Bambi has been here at Spruce Meadows in the international ring on several occasions. He's very quick with his legs, cat-like almost, in the way that he clears the jumps. And he is a very fast horse anyway, so he should be in a very good position to move up the leaderboard. Oh, and a fence down. Oh, and a little bit too fast around the turn there. A slip for Michael Endicott.
He came
Just
off
kept
quickly.
Caught right off guard. Michael's back on. Now that's 8 jumping faults for a fall. Coming down to this big blue and white spread jump, the Oxer. Michael starts to turn. He wants to get a good time. He knows he's had a rail, but then Montbambi loses his footing and catches Michael right off guard. It looks like he kind of hit his head. He didn't spring back quite as fast as you would normally think he would, so he may be hurting.
And a refusal.
And I would suspect that Michael will now retire. He's not going to retire.
Nancy and Doug, when this horse came into the ring, they could hardly get him to the out of the hitching ring to the front gate, and Michael looked a little bit apprehensive. The horse had a real glare in its eye and obviously wasn't prepared to go in terms of concentration. I think we saw that with him jumping in there, and Michael seemed a little apprehensive, and this certainly isn't the type of course you want to go into with those types of feelings.
Well, Ian, I think that horse is spooked, no question about it, and Michael has to be disappointed, but the 22-year-old is going to have days like that.
And quite a few of them.
Followed by Judy Torres on B for Evers, 4 faults to the top of TD 65. This is Barney Ford on the Solo.
Very gifted horse now, So Long, and a very gifted rider, Barney Ward. You mentioned that he played in the AFL with the old Boston Patriots. He was a field goal kicker. This horse, 4 faults in the opening round. He had the best time of the 4 fault performances, 90.18 seconds.
This
it's really
is
moving
such
now.
a fast horse. Watch its hind end. Just kicks way out behind. And if Barney got into a jump off situation with this horse, he's almost unbeatable. He's got a hackamore on for control because the horse tends to get a little bit strong. Ooh, and that corner is getting a bit slick. The riders are trying to take a little sharper turn there.
We've seen this Hanoverian before, formerly ridden by Paul Schockmüller of West Germany and George Lindemann Jr. of the U.S. Beautiful, beautiful horse.
Oh, very tight into that red ox or the Spruce Meadows planks, but clears the big 6-foot wide white oxer. There's Ian Miller anticipating his round with El Futuro.
Standing by, Captain Canada, as we look at Barney finish up. Oh, what a great job of riding. Just superb. 73.05 seconds, very quick, clear round for Barney, and he's moved into a tie for the lead. Here's the man the crowd has been waiting for, Ian Miller from Perth, Ontario, and El Futuro in the opening round. 3 faults as he surprisingly had a refusal with El Futuro.
But to not have time faults with his refusal is quite an accomplishment. I know Ian was very disappointed. El Futuro in 1989 was the Canadian show jumping champion. He's a beautiful stallion. He's Ian's 2nd string horse, but for any other rider, this would be a wonderful 1st string horse. If he goes clear, he'll move into the lead of the Queen Elizabeth Cup. Doug, in the United Kingdom, just I didn't know whether you knew this, but there is a Queen Elizabeth II Cup in the United Kingdom, which was first presented in 1949. Since 1984, it's been at the Birmingham Horse Show, the Royal International Horse Show of the United Kingdom. And it's actually for ladies only. So this is a much more difficult test, this Queen Elizabeth II Cup here in Canada.
So far, so good for Ian Miller. 79 career Grand Prix victories. Of course, his string of accomplishments, just amazing. 5 Olympic Games, 3 World Championships.
And he's the new leader of the Queen Elizabeth Cup, Ian Miller.
Just 3 faults through 2 rounds for Ian Miller. Our new leader is Ian Miller. He's with Ian Allison.
3 faults, interesting scenario at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and what that does with the time, of course, it made it unimportant how fast I went as long as I stayed in the time allowed. So if any one of these remaining ones knock a jump down, I'm ahead of them.
Any double cleans today?
Oh, I think there'll be 2. I'm calling 2 double cleans.
We'll put it in writing.
Have a look now at a young American rider, CC Younger, with Young Fleet. 1 1/4 faults in the opening round. If she goes clear, she could move into the lead.
For me, this was a very surprising clear round. Although the time faults were incurred, Young Fleet has never seen obstacles the size of these jumps in the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. This is a beautiful horse. He's a French-bred stallion. Celle de Francais is the breeding.
Some of the vertical fences as high as 5 feet 3 inches. Some of the oxers in width 5 feet 11 inches. So what a test for the riders and the horses.
Well, and when that becomes so important in the fact that the riders cannot miss on their takeoff points with the jumps being as big as they are. You talk about a test for the World Championships. This is one right now.
World Championships coming up later this summer in Stockholm, Sweden. Ian Miller with an opportunity to perhaps win a world title for Canada.
This horse has just moved into the lead, Doug.
Yep, and just under the time allowed, 79.34 for CC Younger. 1 1/4 her total through 2 rounds. We have a new leader now. She's CC Younger of the United States. Let's meet her.
Cece, you're to the top of the leaderboard. Nice round. Do you think it'll hold up?
I sure hope so. I think that today is Ladies' Day, and I will certainly try to hold that up to the best of my ability.
You had to pick the pace up in the second round to come in under the time allowed.
Oh yeah, my theory was drinking a Pepsi before the second round, and I think it helped.
Go get rest.
Thank you.
On course now is Bernie Traurig of the United States. He had a 1/4 time fault in the opening round, just over the time allowed of 81 seconds. It cost him a 1/4 time fault, and that's where he sits heading into the second round with his horse Corsair. So a real dogfight now as we continue. We have 4 clear performances still to come.
This is a very old, experienced horse, Corsair. He's been ridden by several team members of the American squad, and he's just had a rail. So with that 1/4 of a time fault, it's going to put him in a bad position to move up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, we have 5 riders with a total of 4 through 2 rounds, so that's going to bump Bernie down below that. So that was not a good idea to knock down a rail.
No.
Cost him a lot of money, to be sure.
I like this horse a lot, though. Corsair, you got to give him credit. This old guy has got so much try and so much heart and great jumping ability. It's just, he's got to be at least 17 years of age now. Oh, just that one fence down. Total of 4 1/4 faults.
Oh, that really cost Bernie. Unfortunate.
Coming into the triple combination, Bernie was just a little bit slow and a little bit far away from the first jump. The horse came down at the back rail of the spread, the first element of the triple combination. However, they got it together to clear the next two elements and moved on with just that one mistake.
There's a look at the leaderboard. CeCe Younger of the U.S. in the lead with 1 1/4 jumping faults, but still to come. 4 clear performances from the opening round, each and every one of them with an opportunity of winning this competition. So now you're looking at Alice DeBaney with the Natural. If she can go clear, she will move into sole possession of first place.
This is one of the greatest horses of all time, the Natural. Hanoverian gelding that has jumped clear rounds in every stadium around the world. Olympic, Pan American, Grand Prix games. This is his first time to Spruce Meadows. He's never stepped foot on the international course before. Alice has never been to Spruce Meadows before, and they come out and they show what they're made of. First round, a clear performance.
This horse owned by the Old Salem Farm, the first show jumper in the world to sell for $1 million. That was in 1986. In 87, he won the World Cup final under Catherine Birdsall.
Coming down to the last 3 jumps now. Alice and the Natural could take over the lead in the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Our new leaders.
Good. There she is, the new leader. Alice DeBaney from New York City. Just turned 22 years old a month ago. Double clear for the Natural.
This is an incredible performance that we have just witnessed. Alice DeBaney, not a lot of international experience, a wonderful horse, but the coolness and the smoothness and the execution that occurred on the course today were brilliant.
Splendid indeed. Alice DeBaney, our new leader. She's with Ian Allison.
Alice, you're having a good first day in the international ring at Spruce Meadows.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Now, you went out there, you went double clear. Do you think it can be duplicated by another entry?
Probably. I believe so. I think this round's a little easier than the first round. It's shorter. One cup is deeper. And I think they want to jump off, and I think they're going to get it.
You've got a nice horse. Go get ready for that jump off.
Charming young girl she is. 3 more clears to come. Mark Laskin, Candace Schlom, and Ronnie Freeman. This is Mark Laskin, the transplanted Canadian, lives now in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Voila T.
Well, this is Canada's only hope of making it into the jump off of the Queen Elizabeth Cup. Mark Laskin and Voila T. We mentioned that earlier that he was successful in winning the Shell Cup here at the Spruce Meadows National just 3 weeks ago. This is a French-bred mare. Mark's had a bit of a difficult time getting used to this horse.
Little slip. Very fortunate that rail did not come down.
Squeaked over that. Maybe that's the luck of a winner. He's had a bit of a difficult time getting used to this horse, but he seems to have gotten her number now. Just 4 jumps left. Ooh,
will we have a jump off?
With 3 jumps left, Mark Laskin, Canada's only hope at making it into the jump off.
1 to go. Will he do it? Yes!
He does it.
Mark Laskin under the time allowed, 76.11. He's okay for time. He's okay for fences. They all stayed up. Mark Laskin heading into the jump off.
Mark was very fortunate coming into jump number 14. He took a long approach to the jump, and voila, showed her stuff. She squeaked over it, clearing the jump and putting Mark Laskin into the jump off.
Well done, Mark Laskin, carrying Canada's hopes. Let's hear from him.
So we have 2 double clears.
Mark, you had a rather unorthodox way of getting over a couple of those oxers out there. Sometimes you got to be good to be lucky.
Yeah, well, it's about time my luck changed.
I think that I started it by adding a stride to the skinny oxer. She thought it was a vertical. She jumped up and curled around it and didn't carry. And so then when we got to the 15 oxer, I think she thought it was the same deal. And she's just really a great horse and tried real hard.
She looks sharp. Go get ready for the jump off.
Well done, Mark Laskin, moving into a jump off with Alice DeBaney of the United States. Boy, did he dodge a bullet. Candace Schlamm now with Wooloo. Candace, a young rider from the United States. She went clear in the opening round, has a chance to move in with those two other riders into the jump off. Her Majesty the Queen is going to see a jump off in this very first Queen Elizabeth II
I
Cup.
know that she wishes one of her subjects could win this event. Probably Ian Miller was her favorite. There he is watching. He's sidelined now. He's sitting in 4th place right now with 3 faults on El Futuro.
Well, he can't do it every time. Slight rattle there, but nice and tidy so far for Candace Schlamm.
Hulu is a brand new horse to Candace. Beautiful jumping mare, big black mare.
When we head to the jump off, we will shorten the course significantly, and then they'll be working against the clock. Time will become the determining factor if they have an equality of faults in the jump off. So let's see if Candace could join Alice DeBaney and Mark Laskin in our jump off. Yes, indeed. A 3-horse jump off right now, Nancy.
A great round by Candace Schlamm and Hulu, her brand new mare. She's got to be very satisfied with that. Candace mentioned earlier that she had a bit of trouble with the triple combination in the first round, but she performed brilliantly along with her horse this round and cleared each fence, not touching a pole on their way through.
And that eliminates Dale Harvey and Big Rock the second. Big Rock from our leaderboard. In the pole position goes Linda Southern on the third Xerox. Next entry and last in the second round is number 422. Whitestone.
This could be the man to watch, Ronnie Freeman, the American with Whitestone. He was the fastest of the 4 clear rounds in the opening round, 91.93 seconds. So time will be a determining factor a little bit later. So Ronnie could be the guy in the driver's seat, but he's going to have to go clear here.
Well, Ronnie and Whitestone are great campaigners. Ronnie is a great statesman for the sport of show jumping, always willing to help out a fellow competitor. Look at Whitestone's tail swishing around there. Ronnie's really got this old horse cranked up for this Queen Elizabeth II Cup. This team is quite inconsistent, and they're known to be either brilliant or disappointing, but always exciting. 3 jumps left for Ron Freeman and Whitestone, and this old horse has got his tail swirling around.
Okay, time should be a but a rail to death with a late reaction there. Oh, disappointing to be sure for Ronnie Freeman. And look at the time, 72.75 seconds. Oh, very fast.
Coming into the double Liverpools, maybe a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too ready to jump the jump. Whitestone just actually jumping at the jump, not much, and it was a delayed reaction, like you said, Doug, but it did come down.
Well, that had to be terribly disappointing for Ronnie Freeman of the United States. In fact, it bumps him out of the top 5 with that rail down. Alice DeBaney, Mark Laskin, and Candace Schlamm will be competing in our jump-off. This is the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. CTV's coverage continues in a moment.
It's time for ooey gooey, melt in your mouth, lip smacking, soul affirming, lovely, special, smooth, delicious chocolates. Only from Purdy's Chocolatier.
We are heading to a jump off now. 3 riders going double clear in the opening 2 rounds. Alice DeBaney and Candace Schlom of the United States, along with Canada's Mark Laskin, carrying the hopes of the Maple Leaf. Some distinguished guests in the Royal Box this afternoon among the Royal Party. Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Don Mazinkowski, and his wife, Premier Dawn Getty, and Mrs. Getty. Ready now for the jump-off portion of our competition. 3 horses in the field, Wula, Voilati, and the Natural. This is Candace Schlom with Wula. They've shortened the course now to 6 jumps, 7 elements. The fences are 2, 14, 6, 9A, 3, and 12.
And Candace is really hustling, Doug. Look at this inside turn now as she comes back to the yellow double verticals. A sharp turn.
She means business. They're working against the clock.
Here's the intermediate time.
27.06, 365 meters. The time allowed 55 seconds, but the way Candace is moving, she shouldn't have to worry about going over the time allowed.
But she did have a knockdown there at the double verticals.
Could be very
And there's the last jump.
Okay, 46.27 is the time. 4 jumping faults in the jump off for Candace Schlom of the United States. Will that be good enough? Could open the door for Canada's Mark Laskin. Canada's hopes being carried by this man. Mark Laskin makes his home now in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but make no bones about it, he's from Edmonton, he's a proud Canadian. Voilati, let's see what he can do.
Did it come down? No, he rattled that jump again that he had trouble with on the second round. He's still clear and he is hustling. The intermediate time of Candace Schlom and Hulu was 27 seconds, and he does the inside turn.
Nicely done. Yes.
And he's right on the mark at 27.03. He's faster and he's clear.
Almost an identical intermediate time to Candace Schlom.
And he's just got 1 jump left. Mark Laskin from Canada. Can he win Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth II Cup?
Well
great
done.
round.
47.69. There's our new leader. It's Canada's Mark Laskin. And right now, as things stand, he can finish no worse than 2nd. Triple clear performance. The time to beat will be 47.69.
Mark Laskin clear and quick. Now you play the waiting game.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You always figure there's room for someone to go faster, but I left them all up, so we'll just see.
We'll let you watch.
Thanks.
Yes, sirree. He'll watch this young lady now, Alice DeBaney, and that scintillating horse, the Natural. We talked about this great, great horse. And it'll have to go triple clear and beat the time of 47.69.
Well, and this horse certainly is capable of doing it. However, it looks to me like Alice is a little bit slower with the Natural. Well, she's picking up time here. We'll check the intermediate time. Mark's was 27.03 seconds as he landed over. Oh, and this horse is a full second ahead, 26.23.
Okay.
Look at how smooth it is. She makes it look effortless. 1 jump left. 47.69 seconds, the time to beat, plus a clear round. She does it! Alice DeBaney from the United States.
46.22, there's our champion. Young lady, 22 years old from New York City, Alice DeBaney.
What a thrill and an honor for this young woman of the United States to be presented with the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Cup trophy by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
We'll be back with the presentation of the Crystal Cup to our champion today, Alice DeBaney of the United States. Her Majesty making her way down to the infield to make the presentation. This is the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. CTV's coverage continues after this. The weatherman has been good to us today. It's been an absolutely royal day here at Spruce Meadows, and royalty was watching. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth watching Alice DeBaney, the 22-year-old from New York City, win the first ever Queen Elizabeth II Cup. And what a performance it was on that 12-year-old German-bred Hanoverian gelding, the Natural, the first horse in history to sell for $1 million. Her Majesty the Queen presenting a crystal cup to our happy winner. Alice has to be Alice in Wonderland, getting the opportunity to meet the Queen and win this very first Queen Elizabeth II Cup. A storybook day for Alice DeBaney of the United States. Congratulations as well to our second place finisher today, Edmonton's Mark Laskin. So now on behalf of Nancy Southern, Ian Allison, and our entire CTV crew, this is Doug Smith saying so long from Spruce Meadows. And a reminder to stay tuned for more of the Du Maurier Canadian LPGA Championship.